Chapter 1421. Road to the Yellow Springs? Jiang Chun was shocked. He knew the significance of the road to the Yellow Springs. It was said that the road to the Yellow Springs only existed in the ancient underworld. Stepping on the road to the Yellow Springs was equivalent to stepping into the cycle of reincarnation. The end of the road to the Yellow Springs was the end of this cycle of reincarnation. This is the road to the Yellow Springs of the ancient underworld? Jiang Chun asked. Yes. Huang Shangwei nodded and said, We are all people who strive to cross over. Unfortunately, for some reason, we can't reincarnate. Over time, we are left here as souls. Heh! What a great master of the ancient underworld. He has played such a big game. Is he trying to bury all three worlds? Jiang Chun felt a chill in his heart. He had never dreamed that the master of the ancient underworld would play such a big game. He wasn't trying to destroy one world. He was trying to completely destroy all three worlds. Now, there were no strong cultivators in the three worlds. The ancient underworld was strong enough to sweep through all three worlds. I've said what I needed to say. Now, it's time to send you on your way, Huang Shangwei said. The war chariot roared, and the battle aura was like a sharp sword that tore through the clouds and shattered the heavens. He waved his hand, and the halberd in his hand slashed down. Thousands of laws withered, and there was a vague feeling that it was above the great Tao. This attack was too powerful. Jiang Chun didn't even have time to react before he was sent flying. Since you're already a dead soul, rest in peace forever. At this moment, Jiang Chun roared. The spiritual body that he had when he broke through earlier fell down and merged with it. His aura continued to soar, and there were streaks of fate descending from the heavens. Fate added to his body. Buzz. However, this fate only existed for 3 breaths of time before it disappeared again. The laws of the great Tao here were strange. It was difficult for the fate of the heavens to descend. I, Jiang Chun, will be invincible. Jiang Chun wasn't discouraged. With a roar, the Emperor's pain turned into a purple-gold sword in his hand, and the inextinguishable flame turned into a battle armor that covered his body. The myriad transformations' heavenly lamp burned above his head, protecting his true spirit from being extinguished. Then, Jiang Chun rushed out, blocking his opponent's halberd and smashing it with his fist. You might be very strong in the outside world, but in this place, we dead souls are the masters. Huang Shangwei's face was full of contempt. He waved his right hand, and a fist light tore through the void and collided with Jiang Chun's fist. Boom! With a loud explosion, Jiang Chun was sent flying again. The Emperor's vine that had transformed into a sharp sword dissipated as it was sent back into his body. Even the inextinguishable flames covering his body flickered as if they were about to be extinguished. In the end, you are still an ant. Huang Shangyi was very indifferent, but there was also a trace of contempt and arrogance in his voice. In his eyes, Jiang Chun's body was already his. Once he obtained this body, he would be able to return to the Yang world. Once upon a time, I also looked down on all heroes. I also had a glorious time. I was also revered by tens of thousands of people. However, after I die, I step onto the road to the Yellow Springs and can't enter the cycle of reincarnation. I hate it. Today, since I've found a good body, I can return to the Yang world. After I leave the outside world, I can return to my glory. Huang Shangyi was a little emotional. He seemed to have seen the days after he returned to the Yang world. You don't deserve to have my body, Jiang Chun said coldly. Suddenly, the ever-changing heavenly lamp burned, and a chaotic sword light shot out and slashed Huang Shangyi's chariot. If Huang Shangyi had not dodged in time, this sword might not have been able to kill him, but it would have severely injured him. You have such a skill? The ever-changing heavenly lamp? Huang Shangyi's eyes narrowed. Only now did he recognize Jiang Chun's Tao soul, and the greed in his eyes became more obvious. 3 souls, chaotic qi, and such a strong physical body. This was the physical body that he had always dreamed of. It's over. You will rest here forever, Huang Shangyi said softly. Runes circled around his body and gathered in his heavenly halberd. Then, He struck and hit the ever-changing heavenly lamp back into Jiang Chen's body. Moreover, this attack's momentum didn't decrease at all. It tore open Jiang Chen's body and almost shattered his soul. Buzz! However, at this moment, rumbling sounds came from Jiang Chen's side. Clouds floated from the void, and he seemed to be bathed in divine light, making him look sacred. His body was reconstructed in an instant, and his soul was restored. The 3 Tao souls appeared again. Moreover, the 3 strands of chaotic energy also appeared. They were divided into 3 sides and supported the ever-changing heavenly lamp. It was like 3 stars surrounding the moon, and it was like 3 flowers converging above one's head. Huang Shangyi frowned. His expression was solemn because he felt a sense of threat. He couldn't understand why Jiang Chen, who hadn't been able to withstand a single blow, had suddenly become so strong. "Hurry up and leave! Don't worry about me!" At this moment, although Jiang Chen had recovered and his combat strength had increased greatly, his expression was very serious. He raised his head and looked into the distance. In the void, a woman was dancing. Her body was burning with flames. Her true spirit seemed to be on fire and was dissipating. This person was Nayland Mayer. She did not leave. She had been in the distance until she saw that Jiang Chen was about to die. Then she danced. She danced in a battle and galloped through the vast universe alone. However, Jiang Chen's heart was twitching. He knew that Nayland Mayer was burning her true spirit to dance. Otherwise, Jiang Chen's combat strength would not have increased so much. The consequence of burning one's true spirit to dance was eternal death. If one's true spirit was destroyed, one would not even be qualified to enter the cycle of reincarnation. "Master, if I were to die, would you miss me?" Nayland Mayer asked with a smile. Not a trace of sadness could be seen from her face. Before Jiang Chen could speak, Nayland Mayer's charming eyes flashed with sadness. She said softly, "It's a pity that I can't become your woman until now." "Stop!" Jiang Chen roared. He wanted to rush over to stop Nayland Mayer. However, Huang Shangyi rushed over. The halberd fell and the universe collapsed. "You're courting death!" Jiang Chen's eyes were burning with anger. His anger exploded like a tsunami. He punched out and the light around him flickered. Heavenly dance of brightness and darkness. Light and darkness intertwined, yin and yang collided. When Jiang Chen was reborn, the first martial technique he used was the heavenly dance of brightness and darkness. Boom! After 2 consecutive explosions, a light flashed past and broke Huang Shangyi's halberd. Then, a dark light flashed past and sent Huang Shangyi flying. "I saw it again. Heavenly dance of brightness and darkness," Nayland Mayer said softly. Thinking back, that was a happy time. At that time, they were all small cultivators. But at that time, they did not have to think about this world. At that time, what passed in their eyes was the world. At that time, Nayland Mayer only had Jiang Chen in her eyes. He was her world. "Stop!" After Jiang Chen sent Huang Shangyi flying, he rushed toward Nayland Mayer. He wanted to stop her. However, Huang Shangyi rushed over again. He punched and stars fell like a meteor shower. Chapter 1422. Huang Shangyi was very strong. His fist light was like a meteor, covering this part of heaven and earth. Even Nayland Mayer in the distance was implicated. Divine light burned all over her body. Her entire person was like a withered leaf, seemingly about to turn into ashes. Jiang Chen glared. As he roared, fist lights that filled the sky danced out, rushing towards Nayland Mayer at the same time. He did not want to see Nayland Mayer get into an accident, let alone see her die. However, Huang Shangyi's attack was too terrifying. Under the 2 people's fist lights intersecting, Jiang Chen's fist lights were completely obliterated. At the same time, a fist light tore through the void, forcefully bombarding Nayland Mayer's body. Poowork! At this moment, Nayland Mayer vomited blood. Her physical body exploded, leaving only a soul behind. She was like a candle in the wind, about to be extinguished at any time. "You're courting death!" Jiang Chen was furious. His eyes were bloodshot. His body was like a true dragon, shattering the sky. He ignored Huang Xiangwei's attack and rushed in front of Nayland Mayer. Following that, his divine soul unfolded and took Nayland Mayer's soul into the myriad transformation heavenly lamp. Boom! Right at this moment, a fist light from Huang Xiangwei landed, hitting Jiang Chen solidly, piercing through his glabella on the spot. His divine soul and soul were almost annihilated. Without the war dance, what are you? In my eyes, you're ultimately an ant, Huang Xiangwei said contemptuously. Previously, when the war dance was launched, Huang Xiangwei was indeed shocked. But now, without the support of the war dance, Jiang Chen, Huang Xiangwei, was not weak at all. If she dies, not to mention you, the entire reincarnation sect will be buried with her, Jiang Chen said solemnly. Striking out with a palm, he struck the myriad transformation heavenly lamp far away. When Huang Xiangwei saw the situation, a cold light flashed in his eyes and he said, "Want to leave?" Who knew that Jiang Chen stopped? After sending out the myriad transformation heavenly lamp, he actually suddenly turned his head. His eyes were bloodshot as he said in a cold voice, "She's only left with her soul. Do you think I'll leave? Today, you're going to die." You! Huang Xiangwei was stunned for a moment. He really didn't expect that Jiang Chen, who didn't have the support of the war dance, would dare to stay. "You'll know once you try." Jiang Chen spoke softly. 3 wisps of primal chaos energy erupted from him. They seemed like 3 azure dragons that were circling around him. In the next moment, he took a step forward, and there seemed to be flowing light gathering under his feet. Golden lotuses bloomed all over the ground, and there was even the rumbling of the great path. Then, Jiang Chen struck out with his palm again. The inscriptions on his palm shone brightly. Talismans and formation runes appeared around him, and in the void. Under this palm was a giant formation, and wherever it was a formation. Array formation? Do you think you can contend against me with arrays? You're too naive. Huang Xiangwei's face was full of disdain. He pointed his finger and a profound light burst forth, constantly annihilating the formation patterns and inscriptions that Jiang Chen had condensed. In response, Jiang Chen didn't care. He continued to strike with his palm, and more formation patterns and inscriptions appeared. It was like a sky full of stars, crowding this part of the world. After a dozen breaths, Huang Xiangwei's expression gradually turned serious. This was because there were more and more formation patterns around him, and it was difficult to destroy them all. Moreover, a few of the arrays had already taken shape, and they were all killing arrays. The aura of a few of the arrays made Huang Xiangwei feel threatened. "If I kill you, all the arrays and inscriptions will disappear." Huang Xiangwei charged over. He knew that if he wanted to destroy these arrays, he had to kill Jiang Chen first. However, due to Huang Xiangwei's carelessness, several defensive arrays had already taken shape around Jiang Chen. When his attack landed, he couldn't destroy these defensive arrays for a while. At the same time, the killing arrays around him continued to take shape. As time passed, more and more arrays appeared, and they had already begun to operate. Buzz! Boom! Explosive sounds accompanied by rumbling sounds rang out continuously. This part of the world was changing color, as if doomsday had arrived. Rain of fire fell, and lightning was like a dragon. There was even an unknown force that turned into clouds that filled the sky. There was an extremely violent aura amidst the resplendent light. "You deserve to die," Jiang Chen whispered. His hand finally landed. At this moment, all of the formations exploded. Violent energy filled the surroundings and even drowned Huang Xiang. Amidst the explosion, only Huang Xiangwei's screams could be heard, as well as the sound of the great Tao collapsing. Jiang Chen stood proudly on the spot. He glanced at Huang Xiangwei, who was still struggling. A trace of helplessness flashed across his eyes. Huang Xiangwei was too strong. Jiang Chen knew that with his current strength, it would be difficult to kill him. Even now, it would be difficult to take Huang Xiangwei's life. After a few breaths, Jiang Chen sighed and left with the ever-changing heavenly lamp. Jiang Chen! You can't escape. Your body will be mine in the end. Half an incense stick of time later, Huang Shanwei broke free from the array, not a trace of injury on his body. He roared angrily, his eyes burning with anger. He wanted to find Jiang Chen's aura. However, with the ever-changing heavenly lamp protecting his body, Huang Shanwei couldn't find any traces of Jiang Chen at all. Find him for me! Dig 3 feet into the ground, dig up mountains and rivers, find him for me. He is mine! Huang Shanwei roared, his voice in order. That day, the various great sects in Immortal Ancient Road took action, sending out large amounts of people. They searched between the mountains and rivers, entering the Forbidden Land. They were all searching for Jiang Chen's traces. Meanwhile, at this moment, inside an extinct volcano, Jiang Chen's body was covered in arrays and barriers. There was even the ever-changing heavenly lamp protecting his body, hiding his aura. He stared at the remnant soul in front of him, a trace of bloody tears flickering in his eyes. Why did you come out? Jiang Chen said softly. His voice was extremely low, as if it was trembling. However, this remnant soul didn't have any reaction, as if it was about to die. If Jiang Chen didn't use his true spirit to protect this remnant soul would have dissipated a long time ago. How can I save you? Jiang Chen sighed. Looking at Nayland Mayer, who only had a remnant soul left, his heart was filled with despair. Even though Jiang Chen had many methods, at this moment, he was also helpless. With only a remnant soul left, even if an immortal came, he wouldn't be able to save her, right? Wait, if it can be reincarnated. Suddenly, Jiang Chen's expression froze. If the Immortal Ancient Road was the road to the Yellow Springs, then, if he reached the end and sent Nayland Mayer's remnant soul into the cycle of reincarnation, would she be reborn? This is the only way to save you. Jiang Chen's expression turned serious. He carefully put away Nayland Mayer's remnant soul and said, "This road to the Yellow Springs will eventually come to an end. Something happened to Boss. The outside world has gone crazy. Everyone on the Immortal Ancient Road is looking for Boss. Also, I heard that a charming woman is suspected to be dead. That woman can't be Boss's disciple, Nayland Mayer, right?" On this day, a few great deities also received the news. Their expressions were strange, and their bodies were trembling. They knew how protective Jiang Chen was, especially towards his own disciples. If that's really the case, this Immortal Ancient Road will probably be overturned by Boss. Birdbait said in a low voice. Chapter 1423. The resplendent stars, no matter how far away they were, no matter how much haze there was along the way, they could still be seen. For example, Jiang Chen, although his cultivation wasn't high, the fighting strength he displayed was too terrifying. For many people on the Immortal Ancient Road, he was indeed a top furnace. Now, Huang Shanwei gave the order, and the entire Immortal Ancient Road was in an uproar, searching for Jiang Chen's traces everywhere. At the same time, several great virtues, even the Rotten One, the 8 ancestors, and others were also secretly taking action, searching for Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen, as the #1 court master of the ancestral court, inherited the great thousand worlds heaven and earth Tao fate. If he died, the ancestral court would be shaken, and even the great thousand worlds fate would be affected. If he comes into being, the great thousand worlds might really be gone. The Rotten One sighed. Who dares to touch my ancestral court's court master? On this day, someone in the Immortal Ancient Road spread the word, and there were even people who stood out, suppressing and killing many creatures on the Immortal Ancient Road with an extremely powerful stance. Of course, there were also people who were killed, their bodies seized. We saw the court master! He's killing his own people! 10 days later, a piece of news spread out, shocking the creatures of the 3 great worlds. Someone saw with their own eyes that Jiang Chen was chasing after the creatures of the 3 great worlds. His methods were extremely vicious. This made everyone puzzled. Could it be that Jiang Chen had rebelled? Or could it be that Jiang Chen's body had already been possessed? At this moment, in a dark space, Jiang Chun was using a secret technique to seal Nayland Mayer's remnant soul. He didn't want Nayland Mayer's remnant soul to suffer the slightest bit of damage, so he had to seal it layer by layer, protecting it to a perfect extent. In this way, even if I have to go through a terrifying battle, I will still be able to protect a wisp of your remnant soul, Jiang Chun said softly, while looking at the remnant soul, which was covered with runes, and he felt bitter. Right at this moment, a figure suddenly charged in, and it actually disregarded the formations and restrictions here. Furthermore, he was able to find Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun was protected by the myriad change celestial lamp. It could conceal all auras. Even an immortal would not be able to find him. However, after seeing this person clearly, Jiang Chun couldn't help but feel relieved. Because this person was Jiang Chen's other physical body, Tianzong. The two of them were of the same origin, so it was normal for the Sky Sect to be able to find him easily. You haven't been possessed? This was the first thing Tianzong said when he saw Jiang Chun. When Jiang Chun heard that, he could not help being stunned. He had already stayed here for several days, yet he didn't encounter any creatures from the immortal ancient path, so how could he have been seized? After that, Tianzong told Jiang Chun about what had happened outside. After hearing this, Jiang Chen's expression became strange. Tianzong's expression was even more complicated. The two of them stared at each other. After more than 10 breaths, Tianzong shook his head and said, I didn't do it. Then, there's someone outside who looks exactly like us? Jiang Chun said. Then, it can't be your physical body, right? Tianzong muttered, but he couldn't be sure. After all, this immortal ancient path was too strange. Although the creatures here were dead souls, they also had physical bodies. About my 10 reincarnations. I heard some rumors before that there was a problem. Jiang Chun frowned and said, It's said that someone tampered with the path of reincarnation? You mean, it happened in the immortal ancient path? Tianzong cried out in surprise. The immortal ancient path was also known as the Yellow Springs Path. At the end of the Yellow Springs was reincarnation. If those rumors were true, then the place where Jiang Chen's reincarnation had an accident was here. Moreover, all of this might be related to that, him, in the immortal ancient path. Find him. Ask him clearly, Jiang Chen said in a low voice. His eyes shone brightly as he stared at Tianzong with vigilance. Tianzong had always wanted to turn the tables and replace Jiang Chen as the main body. And now, another suspected physical body had appeared. With Tianzong's thoughts and methods, he would most likely take action. After all, if Tianzong merged with the other physical body, he really might surpass Jiang Chun and become the main body. You're too weak. If you can give up the position of the main body, I can help you sweep everything, Tianzong said. Then, he pointed at Nayland Mayer's remnant soul and said, If you were strong enough, your disciple wouldn't have become like this. I've always been getting stronger, Jiang Chun said in a low voice. The conversation between the two was naturally the same as before. They parted on bad terms. Then, the two of them came out and began to search for traces of the other, Jiang Chun. More than 10 days later, on a mountain peak on the path to immortality, a great battle erupted. No one knew who was fighting whom because this battle was far too terrifying. Violent energies were wreaking havoc, and even supernatural beings couldn't get close to it. Until a day later, the battle ended. Only broken mountains and rivers were left, as well as Tao techniques and laws that had not yet stabilized. Who's fighting here? It's the same person's aura? Could it be that we sensed wrong? That there's no battle here, but someone's undergoing a tribulation? At this moment, many people hurried over. When they investigated the situation, they were dumbfounded. Because there were no other living beings' auras here. Not only the aura, even the source was the same. Jiang Chun is injured. Oh my God! What did I just see? Jiang Chun is chasing after Jiang Chun. A day later, someone saw a black shooting star streaking across the sky. Upon closer inspection, it was Jiang Chun. Soon, another purple shooting star flashed by. If one took a closer look, one would find that it was also Jiang Chen's face. However, after only 10 breaths of time, everyone saw another Jiang Chen chasing after him. This caused everyone in the world to be dumbfounded. 3 Jiang Chen were chasing after each other? Tianzong! Let him go! That's my physical body! Bull*T! I want to be the original body! That's my physical body! At this moment, Jiang Chen and Tianzong were almost side by side. In front of them, the Jiang Chen, on the path to immortality, was glaring at them angrily. The battle on the mountain peak before was caused by the 3 of them. The result was obvious. The Jiang Chen, on the path to immortality, was severely injured by the 2 of them. They chased him all the way here and finally intercepted him. We're all on the same side. Why do you have to do this? At this moment, the Jiang Chen, on the path to immortality, smiled and spoke in a seemingly relaxed manner. Killing me won't do you any good. We won't kill you. We just want to merge with you, Jiang Chen said in a low voice. You're my previous body. What's wrong with me merging with you in this life? What? Unexpectedly, the Jiang Chen, on the path to immortality, was confused. He pointed at himself and said, You think I'm your previous body? Are you sure you're not mistaken? Chapter 14:24. Jiang Chen didn't know what she was talking about. You're not my physical body? Tianzong, who was standing next to them, wore an odd expression. He seemed to have realized something. Frowning, he even stopped Jiang Chen, who was about to attack. He said, Maybe he really isn't the body of your previous life. If it's not my physical body from my previous life, then what is it? Jiang Chen was puzzled. I'm a wisp of your soul, the other Jiang Chen said. If you kill me, your soul will be incomplete forever, and it will be impossible for you to return. If I die, you can forget about becoming an immortal for the rest of your life. Jiang Chen's expression changed involuntarily. Next to him, Tianzong smiled bitterly. Tianzong covered his eyes and smiled bitterly. Not only can we not kill him, but we also have to protect him. If he dies, both of us will be finished. Why would a wisp of my soul appear here? Jiang Chen was puzzled. To be precise, I'm a wisp of your soul when you were Tianhong. Tianhong said. When I entered this reincarnation after death, I was plotted against. Most of my soul was reincarnated, but I stayed behind. Do you know why you can't return? It's not because you didn't merge with your physical body, but because I've been trapped here. Tianhong smiled bitterly, and he told Jiang Chen some of his old secrets. Back then, Jiang Chen died as Tianhong and was arranged by the Lord of the Ancient Underworld to enter the road to the Yellow Springs. That was not the first time the Lord of the Ancient Underworld had arranged it. The Lord of the Ancient Underworld had also helped a lot in the previous reincarnations. But for some reason, something happened to Tianhong in his previous life. At that time, the Lord of the Ancient Underworld disappeared and no one knew where he went. This also caused changes to the road to the Yellow Springs. Most souls that entered here could not reach the end and could not enter reincarnation. In that lifetime, Tianhong had experienced a narrow escape from death, risking the risk of having his soul scattered before barely managing to enter samsara. However, after that life, the so-called 10 reincarnations were incomplete and difficult to carry out. Because the most important part of his soul was left here. This part of the soul contained all the secrets. The Lord of the Ancient Underworld has always known that I'm here. He's trying to find me, and I'm trying to find a way to leave this place, Tianhong said. Now, a large number of otherworldly beings have entered this place. I want to possess their bodies and return to life. You can return, Jiang Chen said. Since you are a part of my soul, why don't you return? Return? If I return, everything I have will disappear. At that time, I will fulfill your wish. I don't want to disappear. I want to be myself. Hearing Tianhong's words, Jiang Chen could not help but look at Tianzong. The two of them had similar thoughts. Tianzong wanted to replace him, but Tianhong wanted to be himself. If I fuse with you, will my past memories return? Jiang Chen asked, his eyes shining brightly. When Tianhong heard this, he did not hide anything. He nodded and said, Yes, why? You want to fuse with me by force? Do you think I won't resist? Jiang Chen shook his head. He knew that the fusion of souls was too important. If he was not careful, even his own soul would be destroyed. Moreover, Jiang Chen felt that he was doing well. So what if he lost this part of his soul? He could still be invincible. Of course, it would be best if he could remember his past. I won't force you. As for your life and death, I don't care, Jiang Chen said directly. You want to be yourself, so do I. In the eyes of many, I'm just the reincarnation of the first life. In their eyes, I'm not Jiang Chen, but the first life, Jiang Chen said softly, with a hint of helplessness in his words. Perhaps Jiang Chen, Tianzong, and Tianhong were all the same. They were all living under the shadow of the first life. Then we'll all be ourselves. What's wrong with that? Tianhong said, not suspecting Jiang Chen. After all, they were one. If Jiang Chen was lying, Tianzong and Tianhong would be able to sense it. Speaking of which, you know so much. Is the Lord of the ancient underworld good or bad for me? Jiang Chen asked. When he said this, Tianhong's expression turned serious. He shook his head and said, He might have been good in the past, but something big must have happened during the period when he disappeared. Now, he wants me dead. He also wants you dead. He wants the three worlds to be destroyed. He's been looking for me. He wants to kill me and completely cut off your hope of returning. Unfortunately, I have all my memories and have many methods. If I don't want to be found, he won't be able to find me even if he excavates the path to the immortal ancient. At this point, Tianhong could not help but look at the sky as if he could see beyond the world. He fell silent. After a few breaths, he sighed and said, Perhaps he has already fallen into darkness and allied with the source of darkness. If he can't return to the immortal world, he will go to a world that can contend with the immortal world. That world is the world born from the source of darkness. It was obvious that Tianhong was talking about some new secrets. Even old monsters who had lived for several eras might not know about them. In fact, even Rower might not know about these things. If the Lord of the ancient underworld has really fallen into darkness, then the outside world now. Jiang Chen's expression changed drastically. His entire back was covered in cold sweat. One had to know that after they entered the path to the immortal ancient, there were no experts guarding the ancestral court. And Wakako and the others were still in the ancestral court. If the ancient underworld reappeared and wreaked havoc in the world, would the ancestral court be spared? At this thought, Jiang Chen's heart became heavier. He stared at Tianhong and said in a low voice, Do you know of any way to leave this place quickly? There's no other way, Tianhong said. If the creatures on the path to the immortal ancient want to leave, there's only one way, and that is to return to life after possession. As for you people from the outside world, you can only walk to the end of the path to the immortal ancient. There's an everlasting teleportation array there that can allow you to leave this place. There's no other way? Jiang Chen asked. He couldn't wait any longer. If the ancestral court was destroyed and Wakako and the others died, then what was the meaning of everything he had done in this life? People lived not only for themselves, but also for the people around them. If everyone around him died, and he was the only one left, watching the sunset alone, what was the difference between that and death? Perhaps you can sneak in, Tianhong said. He stared at Jiang Chen with a strange expression and said, Didn't your old sweetheart, the Empress, also sneak in back then? Sneak in? How do we sneak in? Jiang Chen asked hurriedly. This seems to have to find a reincarnation hunter, Tianhong said. Chapter 1425. Reincarnation Hunters. Jiang Chen had heard of them many times, and he had also met them many times. In Jiang Chen's heart, the reason why the Empress was unwilling to come out was because of the reincarnation hunter. Now, Jiang Chen had never thought that he would have to deal with the reincarnation hunter. If I make a deal with the reincarnation hunter, will I be like the Empress in the future? Jiang Chen asked. Jiang Chen knew that the Empress was very strong, but even someone as strong as the Empress did not dare to confront the reincarnation hunter head-on. From this point, Jiang Chen knew that the reincarnation hunter was not simple. Although the Empress was called the Empress, her real cultivation was definitely not at the Emperor realm. She was a woman who had been praised by the invincible realm, an existence that surpassed the invincible realm. With such strength, she did not dare to contend with the reincarnation hunter. Thinking about it carefully, the reincarnation hunter's strength was definitely not ordinary. If he made a deal with the reincarnation hunter, would Jiang Chen really be like the Empress in the future and not come out? Not to mention this world, even in the outside three big worlds, the immortal world and the unknown world, the reincarnation hunter's position will never be shaken. That is the sky, that is the earth, that is the last dignity of this world, the great Tao. No one can touch it. Tianhong said very seriously and warned Jiang Chen that no matter what happened in the future, he must give face to the reincarnation hunter. That was giving face to the great Tao. Tell me, how do you make a deal? Jiang Chen said. Jiang Chen was really anxious. He was worried that something would happen to the ancestral court, and even more worried that something would happen to the entire Great Thousand World. In the past, the Great Thousand World had destroyed the 6 realms. Jiang Chen hated the Great Thousand World. But now, he also understood that they all came from the same source, but their standpoints were different. There was no right or wrong. Even the people of the 6 realms were also from the ancestral realm and a part of the vast Great Thousand World. Home! This simple word was worth protecting with everything. Even if this family had enemies and hatred that could not be resolved, Jiang Chen was still willing to pay the price for this family. Recite the cycle of reincarnation in your heart, and they will appear. Tianhong said. It's just that. This deal concerns your entire life. Whether it's right or wrong, life or death, it's all your choice. Do I have a choice? Jiang Chen laughed bitterly. Then, his expression turned serious as he said, I'm willing to do what my heart desires. As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chen closed his eyes. He looked dignified like a real god. In his heart, he was shouting about reincarnation, thinking about reincarnation, and singing about reincarnation. This was a voice that came from the heart. Jiang Chen knew that without reincarnation, his path would have been severed a long time ago. Hearing the call of the common people, we have come to decide your life and death. Samsara is all life. Everything returns to the Tao. Half a day later, a sound like a great bell rang out. No one else could hear it except for Jiang Chen. At this moment, Jiang Chen's face paled. Facing this voice, he suddenly felt like he was nothing more than an ant. The person had yet to appear, but the voice could suppress everything. Jiang Chen even had an illusion that even if a perfected immortal came, he would not be able to withstand the angry roar of this voice. They're here! You become stronger when you meet the strong, and weaker when you meet the weak. With your strength, the reincarnation hunters that came this time are rare. Tianhong was shocked. He had many memories and knew very well what the reincarnation hunters represented. His body was trembling because he was now a remnant soul, and he was also under the jurisdiction of reincarnation. It's you? After a few breaths, a blurry figure appeared. Smoke lingered around his body. It was like immortal qi, but also like ghost qi. He was in the light, but also seemed to be in the dark. He gave off an ethereal feeling. This feeling was very strange. It was as if this person did not exist in this world, but he appeared in front of you. Just one! It's over! It's over! Tianhong was talking to himself. He knew a lot of things, and he knew that if only one reincarnation hunter appeared, it meant that this was a death sentence. Jiang Chen did not know this at all. He was very respectful to the reincarnation hunter. After all, he had a request. Jiang Chen lowered his head, cupped his hands, and said directly, Let's make a deal. Let me leave this place. You should be here, the reincarnation hunter said. Then his expression changed and he said seriously, "No! You should be dead. Reincarnation did not accept you, and heaven and earth did not exist. Now you dare to summon me. I'm here today to make a deal. Let me leave this place." Jiangchen said again. "Do you know that your life is over? You should die." The reincarnation hunter said in a deep voice. "I said let's make a deal today. Let me leave this place." Jiangchen said again. "You should die. What did you say today?" The reincarnation hunter said. Before he could finish, Jiangchen suddenly raised his head, and his eyes flashed coldly. "Lower your head. I have a request. It's fine if you don't agree. If you keep this attitude and want me to die, then I won't die," Jiangchen said coldly. Boom! As soon as he said that, Jiangchen unsheathed his sword. The ever-changing heavenly torch burned, and a sword ray rushed out like chaos, cutting the reincarnation hunter in half on the spot. "You should die!" When the reincarnation hunter disappeared, his angry roar shook the surroundings, and the heavenly punishment and heavenly wrath fell together. But all of this was just a drizzle to Jiangchen. After the heavenly punishment and heavenly wrath disappeared, Jiangchen stood proudly on the spot. He stared at Tianhong with a faint smile and said, "Looks like this deal is a failure. You are in big trouble." Tianhong looked nervous and said, "That's the heavenly Tao. You killed the heavenly Tao. He wants me to die, but I don't want to die. So I can only kill him." Jiangchen said softly, "Who am I doing this for if I'm doing it for myself? From now on, your cultivation will stop." Tianhong sighed and said, "You won't understand the meaning behind this. From now on, your cultivation will not be able to break through, and your path to immortality will also be cut off. If the path to immortality is cut off, then I'll open another path. The path is under one's feet. It's walked, not talked. I have a heart." The corners of Jiangchen's mouth curled up slightly. He seemed to be smiling, but also seemed to be crying. No one knew what he was feeling now. After a few breaths, Jiangchen waved his hand and sighed. "You guys go. We'll all be ourselves." "What do you plan to do?" Tianzong asked. "Walk my own path." Jiangchen focused and said, "Aren't you also walking your own path?" After saying that, Jiangchen looked at Tianhong and asked, "Aren't you the same?" At this moment, the two of them fell silent. After a few breaths, the three of them looked at each other and laughed wildly. Yes, they were of the same origin, and their wills were the same. What thoughts were different? Go! Walk your own path. Chapter 1426. Born as a human, born as a spirit. All living beings in the world were themselves. Even though they were similar, they were not the same. Jiangchen could understand Tianzong and Tianhong's thoughts. He did not force them. This was because he also wanted to be himself. Next, the three of them discussed for a while. The most important thing now was to find a suitable physical body for Tianhong so that he could return to Yang. If Tianhong could not leave the path of Immortal Ancient, it would be a hidden danger for Jiangchen and Tianzong. After all, this was the territory of the ancient underworld, and the lord of the ancient underworld had always wanted to kill Tianhong. If anything happened to Tianhong, Jiangchen and Tianzong would more or less be implicated. The creatures of the boundless world. If they are not suitable for your physical body, we can't do anything. Jiangchen's lips curled up slightly and said, "The people of the three realms of Yin and Yang are suitable. But I can't just choose randomly. The physical body is fundamental. I must choose the best one," Tianhong said in a low voice. "If I could just find a random physical body, I would have taken over it long ago. Let's ask around first. There are many people entering the path of Immortal Ancient this time. There must be a suitable one for you," Jiangchen said. Then, the three of them got up and walked together. Along the way, many people saw the three. Jiangchen. They were all shocked and doubtful. Some people wanted to attack, but they could sense that Tianhong's aura belonged to the path of Immortal Ancient. They thought that Jiangchen had been captured by Tianhong. Therefore, the creatures on the path of Immortal Ancient did not dare to act rashly. Just like that, the three of them walked all the way and nothing happened. However, in the end, someone spread the news and sent Jiangchen's whereabouts to Huang Xiangwei. A few days later, Huang Xiangwei came in front of a cliff. Kill! Kill him! At this moment, Jiangchen and the other two did not even bother to talk nonsense. They directly attacked together. The power of the three of them working together was obvious, especially Tianzong. This guy was already extremely powerful. Now that he had Jiangchen and Tianhong's help, he could suppress everyone. In just half a day, Huang Xiangfang ran away. He couldn't beat him, but Jiangchen and the others couldn't kill him either. This guy was too strong. He was a big shot from the reincarnation sect, and his cultivation had reached the acme of perfection. It would be too difficult for such a person to kill him. If the three of us work together, it seems like we can do whatever we want in the Immortal Ancient Road. Tianhong teased. What do you mean? Do you want to go on an adventure? There are many treasures in this Immortal Ancient Road. We can't come here for nothing. We should take something back. Tianzong nodded. After saying that, the two of them actually looked at each other, as if they could read each other's mind. Jiangchen also covered his face. The three of them were all from the same source, so how could he not know what these two guys were thinking? Of course, what the two of them were thinking was actually what Jiangchen was thinking. It's my first time here, so I'm here to pay my respects. Half a day later, under Tianhong's enthusiastic guidance, the three of them arrived at a relatively large sect. Tianhong? You're a creature from the Immortal Ancient Road. Why are you standing on their side? You're courting death. This sect was called the Mystic Moon Sect. There were a few transcendents overseeing the sect, and it was considered relatively strong in this area. However, in the eyes of Jiangchen and the others, what were mere transcendents? Apart from Tianhong, which of the present Jiangchen and Tianzong couldn't contend with a road-breaking powerhouse? What's the point of saying it so nicely? What do you mean by paying respects? We're here to rob. Tianzong was very direct. Hand over your treasures. Otherwise, we'll flatten the Mystic Moon Sect. Just the three of you. What a joke. Where did a few outsiders get the courage? Within the Mystic Moon Sect, a few transcendents came out. As they spoke, they already attacked. However, what awaited them was a sword ray that was like chaos, directly cutting these people in half at the waist, killing them on the spot. Hand it over. Do you want to hand it over yourselves, or do we have to take it ourselves? Jiangchen and the others were very arrogant. They were not afraid of anything at all. At this moment, how would the Mystic Moon Sect dare to make a sound? The transcendents overseeing the sect were all dead. How would they dare to resist? Just like that, Jiangchen and the others earned their first bucket of gold in the Mystic Moon Sect. Next, under the enthusiastic lead of Tianhong, they headed north all the way to the end of the Immortal Ancient Road. Along the way, all the sects, families, and forces that they encountered could not escape the evil clutches of these three, Jiangchen. However, 10 days later, when Jiangchen and the others arrived at the center of the Immortal Ancient Road, they discovered that some of the sects here had already been visited. Especially in these sects that had been visited, not even a blade of grass or a tree was left. They were just short of moving their mountain gates away. We seem to have met an old acquaintance. In front of a mountain gate that had been ransacked, Jiangchen had a strange expression. This was because he saw the words, "Great might and great virtue," written on a huge rock in front of the mountain gate. It can't be those people from your family, right? Tianzong's expression was not normal either. Looking at the words carefully, they were written crookedly. Especially on this stone tablet, there seemed to be a few stains of urine. Tianzong really could not think of anyone who could do such a thing and use "great might and great virtue" as their name. Other than those few great virtues, who else could it be? Good fellow. Stealing my business? Chase after them. Jiangchun was anxious. Wherever those few great virtues went, not even a blade of grass would grow. If they followed behind those few great virtues, they would not even be able to eat a fart. Then, Jiangchun and the others hurried on their way day and night. Finally, when they were nearing the end of the immortal ancient road, they met a few great virtues. Looking around, there was a basin in front of them. The surroundings were barren, but at this moment, there were many people standing there. Especially in the center of the basin, there was a crack, and there stood a few powerhouses at the end of the road. Damn it! How did they know the location of the old ancestor's ancient tomb? The old ancestor was buried here to absorb the chi of heaven and earth to strengthen our descendants. If something happens to the old ancestor, our chi of heaven and earth will come to an end. The powerhouses at the end of the road were roaring angrily, and their faces were very gloomy. Are they robbing tombs again? It must be Mu Yud leading them. That guy likes to do that. Jiangchun smiled bitterly. The three of them quietly hid in the distance, and used the myriad transformations heavenly lamp to hide their auras. They were very curious and wanted to see what those great virtues could do in the ancient tomb. F***CK. The corpse came back to life. F***CK. It's an old ghost. 3 days later, a few screams came from below the crack. Then, a divine dragon swung its tail and rushed out of the crack, running away without looking back. A few breaths later, a vermilion bird and a 9 netherworld phoenix rushed out, rolling and crawling. Their faces were pale, as if they had encountered something terrifying below. Chapter 14:27. 3 of them ran out, their faces full of fear. It was obvious that they had encountered something extremely terrifying in the tomb. After a few breaths, the other virtuous beings also ran out, their faces pale. Where's Mu Yud? Jiangchun asked, puzzled. The virtuous beings had run out, leaving only Mu Yud. Around them, the experts at the end of the path had ugly expressions. They wanted to chase after the virtuous beings, but they were even more worried about the tomb below the crack. That was the tomb of their patriarch, and it was related to the fate of their entire sect. If something happened here and their fate was cut off, their sect might be implicated. They might even meet with misfortune and be destroyed in the end. What's the point of establishing a sect here when they're just a bunch of dead souls? Tianzong snapped. The point is, they're already dead souls. Why are they still buried? What's buried here? Jiangchun asked, puzzled. Tianhong chuckled when he heard that. He pointed at the crack in the distance and said, What's buried there isn't a dead soul, but a living being. Just like all of you, it came from another world. After it died, it didn't even have a soul, leaving only its body behind. It was buried here. Tianhong frowned and muttered. It's said that this living being has a great background. It entered the path of immortality willingly. It seems like it has a deep relationship with the ancient underworld. A deep relationship with the ancient underworld? Could it be that it died here on purpose? Jiangchun was stunned. If that was the case, then the ancient underworld's tricks were a little confusing. Damn it! At that moment, Mu Yud's voice came from below the crack. Then, he rushed out, covered in blood. He even had a bloody arm in his hand. It looked very scary. It's you, you bastard! Tomb robber! At that moment, the experts at the end of the path roared angrily. One of them pointed a finger, and a ray of light fell, as if it was going to suppress the universe. The surrounding space cracked, and a rain of flowers fell from the sky. A strong wind blew. Scram! Mu Yudin narrowed his eyes and swung his blood-stained arm. Black mist rose and shattered the attack of the cultivator at the end of the path. Even the rain of flowers that filled the sky disappeared. What? What is this? At this moment, everyone cried out in alarm. That wasn't Mu Yud's power, but his blood-stained arm. It was hard to imagine whose arm this was. It actually contained such power. What kind of person was the owner of this arm? It's the Patriarch's arm! Damn it! Not only did you rob the tomb, you even destroyed my ancestor's body! Someone reacted and rushed over with a roar, wanting to take back the arm. When Mu Yude saw this, he didn't run away. Instead, he stood near the crack with a cold expression. He pointed at the bottom of the crack and said, "You are in trouble." "What do you mean? What's going on down there?" one of the breakers asked in a low voice, stopping the others who were about to attack. The other breakers also had serious expressions on their faces, because they could feel a terrifying power slowly awakening. This power was very strange. It wasn't divine power, nor was it immortal power. It didn't seem to belong to this world. "Someone from the world of darkness is buried here, and you call him the Patriarch? He's not dead. He's just absorbing your wishes. Now, he's about to rise. This path is about to be cut off." Mu Yude's expression was extremely dark. He thought that this was the tomb of someone from the path of immortality, but who would have thought that the one buried here wasn't a person at all? The aura of that living being was the same as the aura of the source of darkness. It didn't come from this plane. "Puny world, puny living beings, your purpose here is to be used by me. Now, everything is over. The great era is about to begin, and this era is about to end." At this moment, a majestic voice came from below the crack. The voice was intimidating, but it also gave people a feeling of extreme disgust. A few breaths later, a man flew out from below the crack. His black hair danced in the wind, and his black burial robe looked even more demonic. He was missing an arm. His gaze fell on Mu Yude with a hint of doubt in his eyes. "Who are you? How did you injure my body?" the man asked. "Me? I'm the Lord of the Four Underworlds, the Lord of the Underworld." Mu Yude's body was trembling. He was scared. He didn't leave earlier because he wanted to see this man clearly. He wanted to figure out what this man's goal was. Now Mu Yude was regretting it. He didn't even have a chance to live against such a man. If he knew this would happen, he would have run away. "I see," the man said with a sigh. The man said softly with a relieved expression, "The place closest to my world has a power that is extremely similar to our world. No wonder it can injure me. I knew it. The source of darkness, the world of darkness, is that world." Mu Yude seemed to know something. His eyes were full of hostility. But soon Mu Yude tore open the void and tried to escape. He knew better than anyone where the man came from and what kind of power he had. On the other hand, many of the creatures on the path of Immortal Ancient were kneeling on the ground and worshipping the man. They were even chanting, "Ancestor." Mu Yude felt like laughing. These people had no idea how terrifying the ancestor they were talking about was. "Leave the thing behind and you can leave," the man said softly. He stretched out his hand slowly. It seemed slow, but in truth he had grabbed Mu Yude in an instant. He wanted his arm back. "Don't even think about it. Your body is incomplete, so you won't be able to return to your peak." Mu Yude snarled in anger. He was struggling. He even threw the arm in Jiang Chen's direction, shouting loudly, "Take it! Run away! F***K me! I don't want it!" Jiang Chen was shocked. Mu Yude was not human. Would the man let them go if they took the arm? With Jiang Chen's current strength, it would be impossible for him to escape from this man's grasp. But Jiang Chen knew the importance of the arm. Although he said he didn't want it, he still caught it and ran away without looking back. However, it was a pity that in front of this man, Earth's shrinking was so laughable. In just 3 breaths' time, a finger fell, and Jiang Chen was suppressed in the void even though he was still far away, and he couldn't move at all. At the same time, the arm was pulled back by the finger. "How dare you!" However, it was at this moment that an angry voice came from the depths of Jiang Chen's soul. Chapter 1428. A furious roar shook the surrounding Dao arts to the point that ripples appeared. The finger that pressed on Jiang Chen's body broke inch by inch. Black blood spurted out like a tide. At this moment, everyone was shocked. They stared blankly at Jiang Chen, who was lying on the ground. Their eyes were full of horror. What's going on? A furious roar actually shattered the finger of the invincible man. Who did this? Was it Jiang Chun? Who is it? At this moment, the man's face was filled with anger. He stared at Jiang Chun as if he wanted to see through Jiang Chun's nature. It's me! The roar sounded again. At the same time, a black shadow appeared on Jiang Chun's body. It seemed to come from ancient times, but also from the future. The shadow appeared and covered Jiang Chun's body. His eyes suddenly opened. His pupils were pitch black, but there was a scarlet light flickering in the depths. I'll lead the way! At this moment, Jiang Chun whispered. To be precise, the person who spoke was not Jiang Chun, but the lamp bearer. Previously, the lamp bearer was sealed and suppressed by the chaotic aura. Unexpectedly, he came out today. At this moment, Jiang Chun was conscious. He could feel the thoughts of the lamp bearer, and could also feel the power of the lamp bearer. This power was unparalleled. When it was added to his body, Jiang Chun felt invincible. However, at this moment, Jiang Chun could not speak. His physical body was controlled by the lamp bearer. It's you! You traitor! The man's eyes were filled with ferocity. He stared at Jiang Chun and said in a deep voice, Back then, my world let you go first to inquire about the news. I didn't expect you to betray me. I've been to this world. I live in this world. I love every blade of grass and tree in this world. I'm different from you. You want to destroy the world for the so-called Great Harmony, but hope exists. It's all for the Great Harmony. Our ideals are different. The lamp bearer kept speaking. His voice was loud and carried his love for this world. He had always been protecting this world, protecting that one person. And that person had awakened him from the darkness, allowed him to see the light, and allowed him to escape from that dark world. And that person was none other than Jiang Chun. At this moment, Jiang Chun already knew about the lamp bearer through his thoughts. The lantern bearer had died a long time ago, leaving only a wisp of his soul attached to the myriad change heavenly lamp. If Jiang Chun hadn't cultivated the soul-raising demonic technique and coincidentally awakened the lamp bearer would have remained dormant. If you repent now, I can still spare you, the man said coldly. The wish of our world is the wish of the myriad worlds. What's wrong with washing everything clean and creating a glorious and clean world? We are darkness, but without light, how can there be darkness? When all light disappears, our darkness will be the so-called light. At this moment, the surroundings were completely silent. Only the conversation between the man and the lamp bearer could be heard. They didn't make a move, as if they were both afraid of each other. The Dark Grandmaster has already appeared, and now I have also awakened. Do you think that in this world, in this plane, in the absence of immortals, who can stop us? Return, step into the darkness together, use the darkness to witness the eternal light. The lamp-bearer fell silent. He didn't hesitate, nor did he want to be like the darkness again. He was thinking about how to suppress and kill the other party. After more than 10 breaths, the lamp-bearer touched his chest and asked softly, Do you trust me? Jiang Chun couldn't speak, but he still told the lamp-bearer through his soul that he was willing to gamble everything today. You, the world of the great harmony in your heart, is the world I want. The lamp-bearer sighed. The darkness in his eyes dissipated, and in its place was an expanse of light and raging fire. At this moment, the lamp-bearer punched out. The fist's radiance was vast and mighty like the sun. It was entirely reddish gold, and snow-white lotus flowers bloomed under his feet. Under this fist, heaven and earth changed color. Even the entire immortal ancient road was shaking, as if it was going to collapse from this fist. Suppress. However, the voice of the Lord of the ancient hell suddenly sounded. The immortal ancient road was densely covered with runes. The sun, moon, and stars reversed. Even the Tao was flowing in reverse. Obviously, the Lord of the ancient hell was worried that the immortal ancient road would collapse. He was outside the world, using a secret technique to strengthen the immortal ancient road. At the same time, black light burst out from the man's eyes, piercing through the clouds and the dense fog. Everywhere it passed, Everything was annihilated. In the end, the black light collided with the fist's radiance. With a shocking explosion, the dazzling light covered everything. When the explosion and the light dissipated, the man and Jiangchen could no longer be seen. At this moment, everyone was stunned. Could it be that the two of them died together? Lead the way, you are still alive. I am not dead either. Let's see who reaches the end of reincarnation first. Let's see who leaves the Yellow Springs Road first. After a few breaths, the man's voice sounded, but it gradually faded away. Obviously, both of them were not dead. They had left. The lamp-bearer's voice did not sound. At this moment, he was riding Jiang Chen's body into the void. Then, the lamp-bearer's figure appeared. This time, he had a physical body. He looked like a scholar. His face was slightly pale, and his eyebrows were delicate. However, the brilliance in his eyes could not be concealed. Jiang Chen and him looked at each other. For a moment, neither of them knew what to say. After a few breaths, the lamp-bearer suddenly smiled and said, I am called Lead the Way. This is not my real name. My real name comes from darkness. I don't want to mention it. My name in this life is Jiangchen. Jiangchen said softly. Do you have any questions? The lamp-bearer asked. No. Jiangchen shook his head. Now, he only wanted to be himself. As for the secrets of prehistory and his previous lives, he did not want to know them. Since you don't want to ask, then don't ask, the lamp-bearer said. He walked in front of Jiangchen and patted his shoulder, saying, You have to do your best. In the end, this world still depends on you to save it. I have always been doing my best. My footsteps have never stopped, Jiangchen whispered. Then, Jiangchen seemed to have thought of something and said, There is indeed a question. Oh? Let's hear it, the lamp-bearer said. The world of darkness, what kind of world is it? Jiangchen asked. Hearing this, the lamp-bearer was stunned for a moment. Then, he smiled wryly. After a few breaths, he looked into the distance and pointed with his finger. He said with emotion, The world of darkness is the same as here. There are mountains, rivers, cultivators, mortals, everything. There's also sunshine, smiles, blood, and passion there. Then, a hint of sadness flashed in the lamp-bearer's eyes, and he said, But I don't know when it started. It seems that after that wisp of black fog passed through the boundary, my world changed. Chapter 1429. The lamp-bearer remembered very clearly that when a wisp of black mist entered their world, the entire world changed. The mountains and rivers were still the same, the living beings were still the same, and the Tao techniques were still the same. However, the hearts of the living beings in the world changed. Benevolence, love, kindness, everything disappeared. There was only constant war and constant slaughter. Since then, the entire world had changed. It had completely changed. Whenever he recalled those things, the lamp-bearer would feel an inexplicable fear. What kind of power was that? It actually changed the heart of the entire world. The lamp-bearer also guessed that someone was secretly harming them. But who on earth had such power? One had to know that the world the lamp-bearer was in was not weaker than the immortal world. Everything is gone. At that time, I was sent into the great world to gather information. In the end I met you, the lamp-bearer said. You were like a ray of light that purified the darkness in my heart, and allowed me to return to the side of light. However, it was also after that that my physical body collapsed, and my soul was incomplete. I could only stay in the myriad change heavenly lamp, the world reincarnates. Who would have thought that I would be able to return in this life? Jiangchen listened quietly. He knew that the lamp-bearer had a lot of pain in his heart. At this moment, he was narrating. He did not disturb him and continued to listen. After a long time, the lamp-bearer laughed awkwardly and said, You've said too much. It's fine. Jiangchen shook his head. His eyes were bright as he said, It's time to go. Yes, it's time to go back. The lamp-bearer nodded. Then, he turned into a shadow and returned to Jiangchen's soul. He would not be separated from Jiangchen for the time being. If he encountered that man, without the lamp-bearer's power, Jiangchen would undoubtedly die. Next, Jiangchen began to gather the people of Ancestral Court. In the end, they began to set off, rushing towards the end of the path to Immortal Ancient. Along the way, the bloody battle did not stop. The creatures of the path to Immortal Ancient seemed to have gone crazy. They continuously attacked them, wanting to seize their bodies. Fortunately, Jiangchen was now very strong. With the lamp-bearer's protection, the creatures of the path to Immortal Ancient could not do anything to them. In comparison, the living beings of the three realms of Yin and Yang were in a rather miserable state. They had lost more than half of their men and horses, and many of the broken roads and level experts had died as well. Some of them had even been possessed. When everyone was still a short distance away from the Immortal Ancient Path, only a third of the Yin-Yang three realms creatures remained. Return to the sun! Ha ha! What a great fortune! From now on, I will no longer enter this cycle of reincarnation. Many people on Immortal Ancient's path already returned to life. They didn't need to reach the end of the reincarnation path, directly tearing through the void and leaving. This was a type of rule, and also a type of order. As long as they could seize a physical body, they could leave. I've finally reached the end. 10 days later, Jiangchen's group arrived at the end of the Immortal Ancient Road. In front of him was an arched door made of limestone. On the other side of the arched door, he could see the three great worlds. However, right at this moment, streaks of light scattered down, passing through the various great worlds. At the same time, the sky outside became incomparably resplendent, but there were sparkling raindrops that fell. Immortal Qi covered everything. Vaguely, one could see immortals weeping in the endless sky. What was that? Heaven's wail? It doesn't look like it. Heaven's wail is a rain of blood, but what is this? Immortal rain? Everyone was puzzled. This kind of scene had never appeared since ancient times. It was as if the immortal world had merged with this world. Immortal Qi covered everything. No. It's an immortal who has fallen. Suddenly, the lamp-bearer's voice sounded in Jiangchen's mind. He saw a woman fall in the void. A spear had pierced through her body, and her blood dyed the world red. The immortal Qi in this woman's body was flowing away, her life aura already dissipating. Only a resplendent symbol pulsed in front of her. That was the immortal fate. Becoming a deity had a divine core, and becoming an immortal naturally also had the immortal fate. An immortal had fallen, but the immortal fate was still there. This was to find a successor for itself. Dead. Ro is dead. Jiangchen saw this. His expression was gloomy, and even his heart was twitching. Ro was a genuine immortal. Back then, there were a total of 6 people who came to the lower realm, and she was one of them. But who would have thought that Ro, who had lived for countless eras, would actually die in battle? She was killed by the source of darkness. That guy is too strong. The lamp-bearer sighed. Back then, it was the human emperor and the demon emperor, as well as the luck of the ancient heavenly court, that sealed it. Now Ro alone is naturally not a match. It's normal for her to die in battle. Hearing this, Jiangchen's eyes flickered with an unknown light. He looked at the people behind him, struggling in his heart. After a few breaths, he suddenly turned around and looked at the group of people from the ancestral court. If I let you stay here, are you willing? When these words came out, the people from the ancestral court could not help but be a little confused. Let them stay here. What for? With their physical bodies, they could not stay on this Yellow Springs path forever? You are worried about us. Rotten said what Jiangchen was thinking. Even Roer had fallen. Now, the outside world must have suffered a calamity. If they went out, they would all die if nothing unexpected happened. And here, although it was the Yellow Springs path, they could still protect their lives. When the outside world is peaceful, I will personally come to bring you back, Jiangchen said with a solemn expression and an inviolable aura. This is an order. We are not afraid of death. We were born as people of the ancestral court. Even if we die, We will be buried in the ancestral court. The people of the ancestral court were very determined. Meaningless death? What's the use of that? Why don't you stay? Perhaps in the future, you will be the only seeds of the great wide world. Jiangchen sighed. As soon as these words came out, everyone fell silent. They actually understood Jiangchen's thoughts. If all the living beings in the outside world died, then they would still exist. As long as they did not die, the great wide world would still exist. We won't go out. We can only stay here and hope that the celestial world will react and send someone to kill the source of darkness. The powerhouses of the three realms of Yin and Yang sighed. They had thought it through and really planned to stay here. Even if their home was destroyed, they couldn't care less about it. I never thought that I, a dignified creature at the end of the path, would one day hide on this Yellow Springs path. Someone sighed with endless helplessness and bitterness. I have the protection of the lamp bearer. If I go, there might be hope. You guys stay here. Jiangchen sighed and said, with the three worlds working together, the creatures on this immortal ancient road can't do anything to you. You guys take care. After saying that, Jiangchen stepped forward without looking back. He even handed Nayland Mayer's remnant soul to Rotten. He knew that this was a narrow escape. Chapter 1430. The door of reincarnation was right in front of them, and the world was just one step away. Everyone stayed behind, including Rotten Man and the others. Although they wanted to accompany Jiangchen to fight and destroy the source of darkness, they knew very well that even the powerhouses at the end of the road couldn't resist the source of darkness. Even immortals would die, let alone them. As subordinates of the ancestral court, we obey Jiangchen. We'll stay here and wait for you to pick us up. In the end, Jiangchen took that step and passed through the door of reincarnation. As the light flickered in front of his eyes, he finally returned to the outside world. As soon as he returned from the outside world, Jiangchen's expression changed. He felt as if something had happened to him. However, this change was very strange and indescribable. Even Jiangchen didn't know what had changed. He didn't think too much about it and rushed toward the ancestral court. However, when he arrived at the ancestral court, he found that it had already turned into ruins. Even the mountain gate no longer existed. There were corpses everywhere. These were all disciples who had joined the ancestral court. Wakako? Bai Fengyu? Jiangchen shouted one by one, but no one responded. This place seemed to be dead, and it was deathly silent. At this moment, Jiangchen's mind trembled, and his body trembled. He couldn't accept it. They're still alive! At this moment, the lamp-bearer's voice sounded. He asked Jiangchen to go to the back mountain. There was a barrier and layers of array formations protecting it. Inside was the time domain that Jiangchen had established back then. Back then, in order to allow Wakako and the others to quickly increase their cultivation, Jiangchen didn't hesitate to abandon his own time law and create this time domain. Now, he didn't expect that the ancestral court would be destroyed, but the time domain would still exist. However, thinking about it carefully, it made sense. This place was protected by layers of array formations and barriers. It concealed its aura and concealed the tracks of the Great Tao. Even if the source of darkness came personally, it would be difficult to discover it. Let them continue to cultivate inside. Jiangchen sighed softly. Now that the outer world was so chaotic, there were not many living beings to be seen. If Wakako and the others were to come out now, they would most likely die. What do you plan to do now? The lamp-bearer asked. I also need to find a place to go into seclusion. With my current cultivation, there is no way I can fight against the source of darkness. Jiangchen smiled bitterly. Only by stepping into the broken path will I have a chance of survival. Even if the road is broken, I'm afraid it won't work. The lamp-bearer said in a deep voice. The cultivation of the man on the immortal ancient road is about the same as mine. He is in the immortal realm. As for the source of darkness you mentioned, I'm afraid he has reached the true immortal realm. He is one level higher than the immortal realm. In a plane like this, forget true immortals, even an immortal is enough to sweep through everything. Jiang Chen nodded. He knew that the lantern bearer was right. However, if he didn't give it a shot, how would he know that it wouldn't work? I have to go. I'm going out for a while. Perhaps we won't meet again. The lamp bearer spoke softly. He walked out from the depths of Jiang Chen's soul. He used the power of the great path to reforge his body and finally took shape. He didn't say much, and Jiang Chen didn't ask too much. The two of them looked at each other, and then turned to leave. Jiang Chen was going into seclusion, and the lamp bearer was most likely going to find the man on the immortal ancient road. The lamp bearer was very strong, but now he couldn't contribute much to this world. The only thing he could do, perhaps the only thing he could do, was to kill the man on the immortal ancient road. Everything has been destroyed. The mountains and rivers have collapsed, and the sun and moon have dimmed. 90% of the Great Thousand World has been destroyed. In a few days, Jiang Chen traveled all over the Great Thousand World. Looking at the world that had turned into ruins, he felt very uncomfortable. How many creatures were there in a world? Among these creatures there might be his friends, but there might also be his enemies. But now, all of this was gone. There was an ignorant young man walking in the dilapidated world, accompanied by a few old men. He looked up at the starry sky, and his innocent eyes flickered with doubt. He asked the old men beside him, "Grandpa, why is the starry sky not bright now, and there is no sun during the day? This is temporary. The world is changing. Child, don't ask too much. You only need to believe in one thing. The sun and moon will appear again, and the grass and trees on the earth will grow again." There was a trace of sadness in the eyes of the old men. They were cultivators, so they naturally knew what had happened to this world. They survived and searched for other living beings in various parts of the world. They wanted to protect these people. They were the seeds of the Great Thousand World. The ancestral realm is still here. On this day, Jiang Chen came to the ancestral realm. After entering, he found that the ancestral realm hadn't changed at all. The people here still lived so comfortably. "You're back." Lu Ming sensed Jiang Chen's arrival and brought him to the number 1 sect in the south. The Great Thousand World is gone. Less than 1/10 of the world is left. Jiang Chen was puzzled. Why is the ancestral realm fine? What's the dark source? Does he dare to come to the ancestral realm? We ancestral realm beings are not to be trifled with, Lu Ming said confidently. The ancestral realm has produced an invincible being. The dark source is probably worried that there are other powerhouses in the ancestral realm, similar to the invincible being. As soon as he said this, Jiang Chen couldn't help but curl his lips. Naturally, he didn't believe it. An invincible being? That was only invincible in this plane. If he encountered an immortal or a true immortal, an invincible being was nothing. What secrets are hidden in the ancestral realm? Jiang Chen said seriously. Now that things have come to this, you can't hide anything from me, right? The ancestral realm has a path to the immortal world, Lu Ming said softly. Otherwise, why is our world called the ancestral realm? The ancestral realm has never been destroyed. Even when it was targeted by the Great Thousand World, they didn't dare to destroy the ancestral realm. This was because if the ancestral realm was destroyed, the path to immortality for the cultivators of the Great Thousand World would be completely destroyed. However, even so, the ancestral realm was still sealed and cursed. It was also because of this that the path to immortality in the Great Thousand World was broken. As for the path to immortality that Jiang Chen had opened up, it was just a crooked path. I see. The ancestral realm isn't called the ancestral realm because there's an invincible being, but because there's a path to immortality here. Jiang Chen understood. It was no wonder that the Dark Source didn't dare to attack this place. If the ancestral realm was destroyed, the immortals in the heavens would definitely notice. At that time, the gate of immortality would open from top to bottom, and the immortals in the heavens would descend. The Dark Source wouldn't be easy to deal with. Of course, the reason why the Dark Source doesn't dare to behave atrociously in the ancestral realm is because our invincible being has returned, Lu Ming said mysteriously. Lu Ming said mysteriously. Suddenly, he lifted his head and looked into the distance. In the direction of his gaze there was a man who looked like a young man slowly walking towards them from the horizon. Chapter 1431. A young man with a calm expression, with a trace of a smile at the corner of his mouth, and there seemed to be a gentle breeze blowing by him. His hair moved slightly, and there were streams of obscure flowing light rotating between his eyes. He walked very slowly, but in the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Jiang Chen and Lu Ming. "You're finally back." The first sentence of this young man was said to Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen was stunned for a moment, pointed to himself, and said, "Are you saying that I've returned to the ancestral realm, or I've returned?" Without waiting for the young man to continue speaking, Jiang Chen smiled bitterly and said, "I've only reincarnated 9 times, and there's still a part of my remnant soul on the road to the underworld. If you say that I've returned, I'm afraid it's impossible." As soon as these words came out, the young man laughed, and did not explain further. However, his smile obviously had a special meaning, which made Jiang Chen somewhat confused. "This is the invincible warrior of my ancestral realm. You should have seen him before," Lu Ming introduced. "When the invincible warrior died in battle, his corpse fell in the 6 realms. I've seen it before, but how did he come back to life?" Jiang Chen wondered. One had to know that the invincible warrior had died for many eras, and his vitality was cut off. How could he come back to life? "The evil race did it!" All of a sudden, something occurred to Jiang Chen. Back then, after the invincible warrior's corpse was taken away from the 6 realms, it had been missing. In the end, it turned out that the invincible warrior's corpse fell into the hands of the evil race. After that, Jiang Chen also heard that the evil race wanted to resurrect the invincible warrior to be used by them and dominate this boundless world. Now it seemed that the evil race had succeeded. However, the invincible warrior after coming back to life did not seem to listen to the evil race's orders. "Such a huge evil race was originally formed by the division of my essence soul," the invincible warrior explained. "They have blood, muscles, and bones. They are the trump cards I left in the boundless world, and also the key to my resurrection." As soon as these words came out, Jiang Chen also understood why the evil race's body was so strange. It turned out that the body of the evil race was a complete fleshly body. And that physical body was the key to resurrecting the invincible warrior. "A single move, played for several eras," Jiang Chen exclaimed. "I had no choice. I had long predicted that this world would be in chaos. If I didn't do this, I probably wouldn't have been able to live until now. After all, without becoming an immortal, one's lifespan is limited." The unrivaled expert sighed. "Can you defeat the source of darkness?" Jiang Chen asked. The unrivaled cultivator shook his head and fell silent. "You can't beat him?" Jiang Chen asked. At this moment, the unrivaled warrior shook his head again and laughed bitterly. "I'm not sure either. After all, the other party is a true immortal, and at my level. I really can't say for sure. Can't explain it clearly? Have you become an immortal?" Jiang Chen asked curiously. "I haven't become an immortal, but ordinary immortals aren't my match at all," the unrivaled warrior said. "This has to do with my Tao. There are high and low Tao. Those who cultivate low Tao are weak, those who cultivate high Tao are strong, and those who cultivate high Tao are invincible. There were 3,000 Tao techniques in the world, but there was only one high Tao technique. It wasn't that there was only one high Tao technique, but that it needed to be comprehended. Every high Tao technique was different. The unrivaled cultivator cultivated the Tao technique that he comprehended, which was the high Tao technique. Hence, his combat strength was extremely strong. Without becoming an immortal, he could challenge immortals. Even true immortals didn't dare to casually fight him. Jiang Chen was deep in thought. He frowned and thought about his own Tao technique. He thought about a lot and remained silent. Even when the unrivaled cultivator and Lu Ming left, he didn't notice. He seemed to have entered an epiphany. He had been searching for his own Tao technique and also asking what Tao technique he cultivated. Time passed slowly. After who knew how long, Jiangchen woke up. He laughed bitterly and said self-deprecatingly, "Until now, I still don't understand what I'm cultivating." However, when he said this, Jiangchen knew very well that the reason why he didn't know what he was cultivating was because he had always thought that he would return. Once he returned, the Tao technique of the past would reappear. Hence, he had never chosen to comprehend his own Tao technique. However, after hearing the unrivaled cultivator's words today, he understood one thing. The world of cultivators relied on strength. And the source of strength was Tao techniques. A high Tao technique was the Tao of invincibility. Do you think this kid can understand? At this moment, in the main hall of the number 1 sect in the south, the unrivaled cultivator narrowed his eyes and asked. Lu Ming and Lu Fang were both there. The two of them looked at each other and shook their heads silently. Tao techniques were everywhere in the world. It all depended on which one chose. Anyone could cultivate the 3,000 Tao techniques in the world. However, it was practically impossible for him to comprehend a superior Tao art that belonged to him. Otherwise, there wouldn't be only one unrivaled cultivator in the boundless world and even the 3 realms of Yin and Yang. There was only one unrivaled cultivator in the 3 realms. He was the only one who had comprehended his own high Tao technique. As for Jiangchen, although one had to admit that his talent was very strong, comprehending a high Tao technique could not be measured by talent at all. Sir, what did you mean by what you said just now? Lu Ming frowned and said. You just saw him and said that he had finally returned. Could it be, do you think, entering the road to the underworld and passing through the door of reincarnation counts as experiencing another reincarnation? The unrivaled cultivator asked. Of course. Lu Fang nodded and said, once you cross the door of reincarnation, it's equivalent to experiencing a reincarnation. Even if your physical body and soul don't change, there are still changes in essence. It's still considered a reincarnation. So, when he came out of the road to the underworld this time, which path do you think he took? As far as I know, if you want to come out of the road to the underworld, you can only pass through the door of reincarnation. The unrivaled cultivator said. As soon as these words were said, Lu Ming and Lu Fang's expressions changed drastically. They realized that Jiangchen had only reincarnated 9 times before. After this, wouldn't that be 10 lifetimes? But, from the looks of it, he doesn't want to return. Lu Ming frowned and said, could it be that something went wrong? There definitely won't be any problems. With the methods he set up back then, no one can stop him from returning. The unrivaled cultivator said, perhaps. We still need to wait. We need an opportunity. After all, 10 lifetimes of reincarnation aren't that simple. What if that kid refuses to return? I heard him say before that he wants to be himself. Lu Fang said. What a joke. Whether he returns or not, he's still himself. The unrivaled cultivator said. This is actually a hurdle in his heart. When he figures it out, he'll be relieved and it'll be over. Perhaps at that time, he'll be able to return. Chapter 1432. 10 Lives of Reincarnation. This was not child's play. It was a huge game of chess that had been set up for many eras. No one could stop it. Not even the Lord of the ancient underworld or the immortals of the heavens could. The unrivaled warrior knew Jiangchen back then. However, at that time, Jiangchen was not in his first life. However, even if it was not in his first life, the Jiangchen at that time was still ridiculously strong. If the unrivaled warrior had not comprehended his own superior Tao technique, he might not have been the unrivaled warrior of that life. This kid, what is he doing? At this moment, Lu Ming stood outside the main hall and saw Jiangchen in the distance. This kid really did not treat himself as an outsider. At this moment, he was actually fooling around with a group of disciples from the number 1 sect of the south. With Jiangchen's cultivation and identity, he was on equal footing with Lu Ming and Lu Fang. But now, isn't he fooling around? The source of the blind darkness is still here, and another one has appeared from the path of immortal ancient. Why is he fooling around with a group of disciples instead of cultivating? Lu Fang's face darkened. She said with a doubtful tone. Can he be relied on? He can't be relied on, but there's still me. The unrivaled warrior was very confident, but he was even more confident in Jiang Chun. He can definitely be relied on. At this moment, Jiang Chun was sitting in the square of the number 1 sect of the South. The disciples of the number 1 sect of the South were sitting around him. From the direct disciples to the outer sect, almost all the disciples were here. When heaven and earth were first created, a wisp of primal chaos turned into primordial chaos and formed the heavens. A wisp of primal chaos turned into the 9 underworlds and formed the earth. A wisp of primal chaos was born and formed all spirits. The heavenly Tao goes round and round, forming the 9 heavens and 10 earths and dividing them into the 4 seas and 8 wastelands. Spirits observe heaven and earth and remember Tsangling. Therefore, there is the saying of cultivation. At this moment, Jiang Chun was in the Zen Tao. He imparted his comprehension of the great Tao to everyone. This was the Tao he believed to be, and also the Tao he had been cultivating all this time. However, Jiang Chun knew that this was not his Tao, but the Tao of the masses. Now, this world might be annihilated at any moment. Jiang Chun wanted to impart his Tao and leave behind some seeds for this world. Of course, perhaps this world would be destroyed, everything would cease to exist, not even a single seed able to survive. However, since he did it, his conscience was clear. He had been explaining, and if there were people who didn't understand, he would patiently teach them. Time passed slowly. At some point, more and more people had arrived. Some of them were not from the number 1 sect in the South. They came from other sects, other forces, and also from ancient and indestructible inheritances. They were very quiet, but from time to time, they would become noisy. Some people would ask questions if they didn't understand, while others would remain silent if they didn't understand. There were also some who would quarrel over a theory of the Tao. Jiang Chun smiled as he meditated on the Zen Tao while comprehending his own heart. After an unknown period of time, a 5-colored cloud converged in the sky above Jiang Chun's head, and it emanated specks of divine radiance that descended like a spirit rain towards Jiang Chun. He was originally the master of the ancestral court, the person who was blessed by the luck of the Tao of heaven and earth in this era. Now that he was imparting the Tao and receiving guidance, he naturally received the approval of the heavens, and thus bestowed a gift. Jiang Chun was still smiling. With a wave of his hand, he scattered the divine radiance that was falling towards him towards everyone. At this moment, some people gained enlightenment, some broke through, and some people's eyes lit up as if they had comprehended some kind of great Tao. There were even some who had extraordinary talent. They were originally emperors, but at this moment, they stepped into the ranks of extraordinary beings. "Thank you, Court Master! Thank you, Court Master!" Everyone shouted. They were grateful in their hearts because this rain of light was a fortune bestowed by heaven and earth, and it originally belonged to Jiang Chun. And now, he had bestowed this fortune to everyone present. Foolish! The heavens bestowed a gift, and the Tao was perfect. What kind of fortune is this? He didn't keep it for himself, but gave it to everyone. What a waste! Lu Ming and Lu Fang were snorting and glaring, but their bodies were very honest. They hid in a corner of the plaza and also bathed in this blessing. There is light in heaven and earth, and naturally there is darkness. The path one takes is different, and the thoughts in one's heart are different. This is the origin of Tao. Tao is not Tao. It is merely the thoughts in one's heart, transformed from one's thoughts. The invincible Tao is the determination in one's heart. Transforming it into power, that is invincibility. Jiang Chun was still talking about Zen Tao, but at this point, a 7 or 8-year-old little boy who had just stepped into cultivation asked, "Court Master, are you invincible?" Once this was said, the entire plaza fell silent. Someone even covered the little boy's mouth, indicating that he had asked the wrong question. Now everyone in the world knew that Jiang Chun was extremely powerful, but who didn't know that Jiang Chen was not invincible? Asking someone if he was invincible in front of them, wasn't this slapping them in the face? What's more, the person you slapped in the face had previously given you a fortune. However, Jiang Chen laughed a few times, and he laughed very happily. He even walked to the little boy's side and said softly, "I am not invincible yet. If you are not invincible, then why should I listen to your Zen Tao? I may be young, but I want to be invincible. Just like the invincible cultivators of the ancestral realm." The little boy dared to say anything without fear in his childhood. Jiang Chen was still smiling. He patted the little boy's head and said, "Then you must work hard. From now on, you must become an invincible man and protect this world." "Yes." The little boy solemnly nodded. His childish face had a determination that far exceeded that of ordinary people. Jiang Chen was touched and couldn't help but ask, "What is your name?" "Yi Fan, as in the blooming of flowers, as in the flourishing of leaves, as in the mortal of an extraordinary life," the little boy said. "Ha ha ha, what an extraordinary life! If this world doesn't perish, the next era will belong to you," Jiang Chen said. This was only a small interlude. Jiang Chen continued his Zen Tao day after day, night after night. During this time, many auspicious signs descended. The blessings of the heavens were endless, and he gave them all to these people. Some people had an epiphany, some meditated, and some took that crucial step and actually reached the breaking level. Jiang Chen's cultivation didn't change at all. Many more days passed, and Jiang Chen felt like he didn't have anything left to say. He had already passed on everything he had learned and comprehended to them. Today, he slowly got up and looked up at the sky. He slowly raised his arm and pointed with his finger. He shouted, "Open the door! I want to become an extraordinary one." The moment he said that, there was an explosion in the sky. Then, the clouds split and the Tao split into two. A ray of light descended from the endless void. It was as if there really was such a door in this world, and at this moment, this door was really opened because of Jiang Chen. 9 heavens of Zen Tao, 1 finger to become an extraordinary. He found his own superior Tao. At this moment, the invincible cultivator who was cultivating suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the sky in shock and surprise. Chapter 1433. Tao was incorporeal to begin with. The reason why there was a Tao was just what all living beings thought. Now, Jiang Chen used the Zen Tao as the foundation and guided his own Tao technique to take shape. The moment he pointed at the sky was the moment a high-grade Tao technique was born from his heart. The invincible warrior calmed down at this moment. He looked at the clouds in the distance, at the void of the heavenly gate, and then at the youth under the heavenly gate. Once upon a time, he was also like this. "High-grade Tao technique? You can do it?" Suddenly, a dark cloud covered the sky, and an obscure and evil aura erupted. A huge rotten palm passed through the endless distance and headed straight for the heavenly gate. This was to destroy Jiang Chen's high-grade Tao technique. "This is the mortal realm." The invincible warrior narrowed his eyes and rushed out. As he opened and closed his hands, a resplendent domain formed, enveloping Jiang Chen and the heavenly gate. Then, he stretched out a hand, clenched his fist, and punched the rotten palm. The fist and palm collided. There was no sound, only the waves and ripples after the collision of endless Tao techniques spread out. The black clouds dissipated, and an old man stood proudly. His entire body was filled with an evil aura, and darkness surrounded him. At this moment, he was glaring at the invincible warrior. How dare a mere mortal fight against a perfected immortal? Although this old man was old, his eyebrows were sharp, and his murderous aura was extremely strong. And this person was the source of the darkness. "So what if you're a mortal? Do you dare to fight with a mortal like me?" The invincible warrior did not retreat at all. Fighting spirit burned in his eyes. With a wave of his hand, the entire ancestral realm shook. Tens of thousands of auspicious lights scattered down, and the heavens resonated. The providence of the ancestral realm was like a torrential river that supported his body. As long as the ancestral realm exists, I'm invincible. Even if you're an immortal in the sky or a ghost god in the earth, you're nothing, the invincible warrior said softly. His voice was not loud, but it spread to every corner of the great Kiliacosm. At this moment, everyone knew that there was a place called the ancestral realm, and there was a person who did not have a name, and was only called the Invincible Warrior. As long as the ancestral realm existed and the Invincible Warrior existed, this world had hope and would not be destroyed. Back then, we shouldn't have done that. The ancestral realm, we hurt them. Quite a few of the surviving creatures sighed. Their eyes were full of regret, and their hearts were filled with regret and shame. Not too long ago, how many powers, how many sects, and how many undying inheritances had joined hands to attack the ancestral realm, attacking until the unmatched experts had no choice but to leave behind a trump card and fall. Now, no one had expected that the final hope of this world would fall on the ancestral realm and the unrivaled being. You are very strong. You have a superior Taoist technique, but unfortunately, you are still immortal. You could have ascended a long time ago. Even if the path to the immortal world was cut off, you could still open the immortal gate and ascend on your own. It's just a pity that your laughable thoughts of wanting to protect this world have caused you to give up your great future. You are a weakling. The unrivaled expert laughed a few times. As the saying goes, those who walk different paths cannot make plans together. He was different from the Tao of the source of darkness, so there was nothing to say. At this moment, the unrivaled warrior pointed at Jiangchen, who was in the middle of comprehending. He stared at the source of darkness and said, "Today, he has to live. His Tao must also exist. What if I don't agree?" The source of darkness' expression was grave. Even though he had true immortal cultivation, right now, he still didn't dare rashly contend against the unrivaled expert. It was all because the unrivaled expert, who had a superior Taoist technique, as well as the ancestral realm's energy luck, his strength already reached a type of terrifying level. This was a type of strength that exceeded the shackles, exceeding the scope of what ordinary people could understand. One person? Forget it! Suddenly, not far out, another streak of black mist rose. One could only see that the male they encountered in immortal ancient path appeared. He arrived while treading on the air, hands behind his back, extremely confident. He arrived at the source of darkness side. The two's expressions were ice-cold, but their goals were the same. This world couldn't allow two people with superior Taoist techniques to appear. Otherwise, this world would continue to live, while they would die. We can fight! The unrivaled expert's brows jumped. He clearly knew that this battle would be troublesome, the odds pointing to disaster, but now that things reached this point, he wouldn't cower back. No! To be more precise, he had never cowered back in his entire life. I received myriad transformations grace, and was reborn through myriad transformations. Today, he is in trouble, so how can I not come? Right at this time, the lamp-bearer arrived. He had always been searching for that dark male's traces, and now, he finally found him. Lead the way! You traitor! Truly my ancient realm's disgrace! The source of darkness and the dark male continuously berated. When they looked at the lamp-bearer, the killing intent in their eyes became even stronger. I did betray the ancient realm, but I feel like that type of world shouldn't exist. Everything I want is here, the lamp-bearer said. You all cannot destroy this world, even more so cannot destroy this world's heart. Courting death. In my opinion, the two of you really are tired of living today. At this moment, the source of darkness and the dark male roared out angrily, Tao techniques erupting from their bodies. An ancient gate appeared behind one of them, as if there was a world supporting it, endless power pouring into his body. 8 green lamps rose and fell above the other's head, as if they were the wills of the 4 seas and 8 wastelands. Who would rise and fall? Fight? I've never been afraid. The invincible warrior waved his hand and shouted, Lend me your sword! As his voice fell, Jian Dade and Yao Dade's expressions changed greatly. They merged together, and the grass and leaves became distinct. Then, they turned into a green long sword that pierced through the world wall and the void, and finally landed in the invincible warrior's hand. In the Great Thousand Mine, Qian Dao looked up at the starry sky with tears of blood in his eyes. He roared with a hoarse voice. "Kill them! I want to avenge Roer! Those who lead the way should lead the way!" The lamp-bearer also waved his hand and shouted, "Lend me your myriad change heavenly lamp!" As his voice fell, a green lamp that illuminated the past and present rushed out from Jiang Chen's body. Then, a sword burst out and turned into a long sword that landed in his hand. At the same time, 3 streaks of chaotic energy rushed out, like 3 flowers converging above one's head, and protected the lamp-bearer. "Fight! Kill!" Following a few angry roars, the 4 people faced each other, and a great battle broke out immediately. Endless darkness attacked the light. One side was white, and the other side was black. Both sides used deadly attacks as soon as the battle started, and no one held back. However, this battle ended very quickly. In less than 10 breaths, the 4 people's expressions changed drastically, and they all retreated. The invincible warrior looked up at the endless sky as if he had seen something terrifying. The lamp-bearer, the source of darkness, and the dark male all looked down at the endless depths of the sky. There seemed to be something there that touched their hearts. Chapter 1434. Above the sky, a pair of eyes appeared, looking down at the upper-class world. There was no color in those eyes. They were cold and indifferent, as if there was no emotion at all. The invincible warrior's expression was solemn. Looking at those eyes, he had already guessed the other party's identity. "Immortals in the sky!" the invincible warrior said in a deep voice, his heart filled with shock. He did not know why the immortals in the sky would appear. The immortal path had clearly been broken, and the gate of heaven did not appear. How did the immortals in the sky appear in the upper-class world? Could it be because of the source of darkness? At this moment, the 3 people from the source of darkness also lowered their heads and looked below the 9 netherworlds in shock. Their expressions were filled with fear. They could feel that their world had changed, as if it had been destroyed. This feeling was very strange, but it was very real. This caused the heart of the source of darkness to change. He did not continue to fight. He turned around and rushed into the endless sea. He wanted to see if his world had really been destroyed. If it had really been destroyed, then who did it? One had to know that the world where the source of darkness was located was also called the Ancient World. The Ancient World was in existence on the same level as the Celestial World. If the Celestial World did not make a move, how could the Ancient World be destroyed? Even if the Celestial World made a move, the Ancient World would not be destroyed. It's really destroyed. The world we are in is gone. The dark man muttered as if he was in a daze. There were tears of blood in his eyes, and he could not understand why this was happening. He also left. He followed the source of darkness into the 9 netherworlds, wanting to break through the realm wall and return to his world. Unfortunately, it was easy to enter, but difficult to return. The realm wall was too sturdy. No matter how they attacked, it was difficult to open the realm wall. He could only look at the world that was gradually collapsing through the realm wall. The world is one. The ancient world is just the first. At this moment, the immortal in the sky spoke, his voice cold and heartless. At the same time, the immortal gate actually opened. The immortal stood inside the immortal gate as if he wanted to descend. However, there were Taoist techniques and rules in the world. It was difficult for him to descend to the mortal world. It was almost impossible. But at this moment, another immortal appeared. Immortal mist lingered around his body. He threw a punch and actually wanted to shatter the immortal gate. The celestial realm wants to destroy the great thousand world? The invincible realm expert narrowed his eyes filled with disbelief. He could not believe that the immortals, who were high and mighty in the eyes of the world, wanted to destroy the Greater Thousand World just like the Dark Source and the others. The Greater Thousand Realms and the 3 realms of Yin and Yang will all be destroyed. We have already deduced that the great calamity that will befall the immortal realm will originate from you lower planes. In order to prevent chaos in the immortal world, this is the only way. What's more, you're just ants. The 2 immortals in the sky spoke one after another, ignoring everything. In their eyes, destroying a few worlds was nothing. Ants were like dust in front of the azure dragon, disappearing with a sweep. We believe in the immortal realm, and all of us want to become immortals. But you want to destroy us? The unrivaled warrior's face was cold, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He suddenly felt that becoming an immortal wasn't the right thing to do. In front of the righteousness of the immortal world, everything is nothing. Nothing can shake the immortal realm. More and more immortals appeared at the gate of immortality. They were actually working together to shatter the gate of immortality and enter the lower realm. There is a great Tao in heaven and earth. What you are doing is not the intention of the immortal world. Stop! At this moment, a group of people rushed over from the surroundings of the gate of immortality. This group of people seemed to be opposing the other party. At this moment, they started fighting as soon as they saw each other. As immortal power surged, the gate of immortality slowly closed. The phenomenon in the sky disappeared, and the scene of the immortal world could no longer be seen. Immortal? What is that? At the same time, a light and indifferent voice came from not far away. Looking carefully, it was actually Jiang Chen who said it. At this moment, his aura was calm, and his divine light was restrained. There wasn't even a wisp of divine power fluctuation. He seemed to have turned into a mortal. However, the unrivaled warrior knew that this was a sign of Tao transcending and returning to simplicity. You succeeded? The unrivaled warrior asked. I succeeded. I can be considered to have stepped onto the path of superior Tao techniques, Jiang Chen said with a smile. He cupped his hands at the unrivaled warrior and said, Thank you for before. What is there to thank? We are all on the same side. The unrivaled warrior waved his hand and pointed above. Did you see that just now? The immortals in our eyes wanted to destroy us. I saw it. So what? When we go to the immortal world, we will destroy them, Jiang Chen said with a chuckle. At the moment, Jiang Chen was speaking calmly and indifferently, as if he didn't care about anything in the world at all. But looking carefully, he seemed to care about everything. He was very confident, but he also gave off an untouchable feeling. You returned? The unrivaled warrior was shocked. Could it be that because he comprehended a superior Tao technique, he returned just like that? Jiang Chen shook his head, indicating that he didn't return. The reason why he was so confident and calm was because he felt that this was how it should be. What he said in his heart was what he said. They returned to the ancient world. Suddenly, the lamp-bearer rushed over with a terrified expression. His voice trembled as he said, The ancient world was destroyed. They returned to the ancestral realm. They broke the realm wall? Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed, and his expression finally became serious. Although they were destroyed, there were definitely living beings who survived. As for those who survived, they were definitely top-notch experts. Since the realm wall was broken, those living beings would definitely enter the upper-class world. However, with the current strength of the upper-class world, how could it stop a large number of powerhouses from the ancient world? It's time for the decisive battle, and I should also go and see someone, Jiang Chen said softly, looking into the distance. You should also come out, right? You've been hiding behind the scenes, controlling everything, controlling me for several reincarnations. As soon as these words were said, the unrivaled warrior and the lamp-bearer's expressions changed slightly. Both of them thought of the same person at the same time, the lord of the ancient netherworld. However, when the beautiful figure appeared in the distance, the two of them were already stunned. They saw a woman with a bright moon above her head and a sea surging under her feet. Wherever she passed, Tao techniques retreated, laws were overturned, and everything turned into nothingness. Long time no see. The woman had red lips and white teeth. She spoke softly and looked at Jiang Chun with a gentle smile on her face as she slowly walked over. Jiang Chun nodded, and his eyes flickered with complicated emotions. He said, "Should I call you Moon Goddess or Moon Goddess? Who is this?" The unrivaled warrior and the lamp bearer were dumbfounded. There was such a powerhouse hidden in this world. "Up to you, as long as you like it." The Moon Goddess smiled. Her smile was very beautiful, but she added, "Of course, if you want, you can also call me the Lord of the ancient Netherworld." Chapter 1435. The Moon God was an untainted woman. In his previous life, it was with the help of the Moon God that Jiang Chun was able to be reborn. At that time, Jiang Chun had been blaming himself. If it weren't for him, the Moon God wouldn't have fallen. But as time went by, Jiang Chun became more and more suspicious. It was as if there was a hand behind him that had been setting up a game of chess. At first, Jiang Chun thought that this person was Mu Yud. After all, this guy was too mysterious and deceitful. But then, Jiang Chun began to suspect Nian Chang'e. After all, without knowing anything, Nian Chang'e openly sided with the three underworlds. This made Jiang Chun mistakenly think that Nian Chang'e had betrayed the greater world. But later, when he learned that he was plotted against during his reincarnation, various signs showed that there was indeed such a person behind his reincarnation. Jiang Chun thought about it for a long time. It was only recently that he was sure that this person must be close to him. And she was also from the immortal world. Combining all the things that Roer said to him before, Jiang Chun became more and more certain that this person was the Moon God. Of course, Jiang Chun didn't expect that the so-called master of the ancient underworld was also the Moon God. "You really give me a lot of surprises." Jiang Chun frowned. He stared at the Moon Goddess with a weird look. Her beautiful face was covered with a layer of mist that no one could see through. The Moon God's smiling face was very beautiful. Her eyes were bright and her teeth were white. However, at this moment, her smile was a fake one. "Tell me, why did you stop me from reincarnating?" Jiang Chun asked. "It's because, in this life, as Jiang Chun, your talent is rarely seen, and it's even greater than in your previous lives. If I didn't stop you from reincarnating, this world would have been yours long ago," the Moon God said truthfully. At this point, there was no need to lie. What should be said had been said. There was no need to hide. "So, in my previous life, you secretly set up a trap and had 36 sovereigns ambush me, causing me to die but not allowing me to enter the cycle of reincarnation. You wanted to make the world, and even myself, believe that I had reincarnated 10 times. Jiang Chun said. "You were afraid that I would return?" "Return? Yes, I am." Moon God nodded. "But so what? In my eyes, if you continue to grow in this lifetime, then you'll be even stronger than you were in your first lifetime. So, whether you return or not, I don't want you to exist in this world." When Jiang Chun heard this, he smiled and nodded. He understood. But there was one thing he was very confused about. He looked at Moon God, and just as he was about to ask, Moon God smiled and said, "I used to love you." "That's enough." Jiang Chun was relieved. There was no longer any expression on his face. Once loved? All right, time would indeed erase everything. Even feelings and love would be erased. Jiang Chun couldn't remember the events of his previous lives, but he could more or less guess that in a certain era, he and Moon God were indeed very loving. But now, everything had changed. The world had changed, and so had people's hearts. "Actually, I didn't want to appear so early, and I couldn't bear to kill you," Moon God sighed. "Unfortunately, you comprehended a superior Tao technique, so I had to kill you. I watched you for several lifetimes, and I couldn't bear to do it, but now—" Jiang Chun was expressionless. He knew that Moon God's appearance today and confession meant that she was going to make her move. After setting up for several eras and watching the ups and downs of life after life, everything had finally come to an end. "Actually, if I wanted to kill you, I would have done it long ago, but I really couldn't bear to." Moon God sighed, and a hint of struggle flashed in her eyes. However, as soon as she finished speaking, her eyes flashed coldly. A bright moon rose behind her, illuminating thousands of miles. At the same time, in a pure land in the celestial realm, a group of people looked down at the great thousand world with excited expressions. Someone even shouted, "The celestial lord has returned! My heavenly moon sect will not be destroyed! The celestial lord has returned, and the celestial realm will be unified!" In another place in the celestial realm, in a barren area, a group of old, weak, and disabled people also looked down at the great thousand world. Some of them were missing an arm, some had a broken leg, and even the youngest youth, who was only in his teens, was missing half of his body. They lowered their heads and murmured as if they were praying for someone. "No, you've been contaminated?" At this moment, the unrivaled warrior stared at Moon God and exclaimed. He saw very clearly that there were traces of black fog entwining in Moon God's bright moon. That was a power that didn't belong to this world, nor did it belong to the celestial realm. Back then, it was this black fog that caused the heart of the entire ancient realm to change. She's been contaminated. She's been contaminated by the black fog, the lantern-bearer also exclaimed. When Jiangchen heard this, the cold light in his eyes suddenly skyrocketed. He stared at Moon God and asked, "You have really been contaminated?" "Contaminated? Maybe, but I think this feeling is very good. I'm above everything, and this world is trembling for me. Isn't this feeling good?" Moon God said softly. When these words came out, Jiangchen was also sure that Moon God had changed. However, it wasn't her original intention. Perhaps, at some point in time, Moon God had encountered something and was finally contaminated by that wisp of black fog, causing her mind to change greatly. However, looking at Moon God's appearance, she shouldn't have been seriously contaminated. Otherwise, he would have been able to kill Jiangchen several eras ago. "Is there a way to get rid of the black fog in her body?" Jiangchen asked. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, he saw a bright moon falling from the sky. It cracked the void and pressed down on Jiangchen. In the bright moon, a wisp of black fog was trembling, as if a ghost face could be seen. "Suppress it first, then find a way," Invincible Warrior said in a deep voice. "She's very strong. Be careful." "That's the only way." Jiangchen nodded. The next moment, the three of them joined forces and used their Tao techniques, which barely shattered the bright moon. But right after that, another bright moon descended and filled up the entire area. "This little girl is stronger than the source of darkness," Invincible Warrior exclaimed. "Nonsense! She came from the celestial world and has always been there. After so many generations, it's difficult for her cultivation not to improve," the lantern-bearer said angrily. "Suppress!" At this moment, Jiangchen roared, and 3 wisps of chaotic energy erupted, like 3 flowers converging, blocking the bright moon. Then, the Emperor's vine appeared, and the vines were like chains, trapping Moon God. Then, an ancient bell appeared above Jiangchen's head, the hour hand turned, and the law of time erupted. "That's all? In the end, you are too weak. Do you think the 3 of you can suppress me? What a joke!" Moon God's face was full of contempt. Moonlight bloomed, and the black fog jumped up. With just a wave of her hand, the Emperor's vine shattered, and the 3 wisps of chaotic energy were pushed back into Jiangchen's body. Even the ancient bell above Jiangchen's head that represented the law of time was shaking, almost breaking. Chapter 1436. The Moon Goddess was too strong. When the bright moon rose into the sky, all laws were destroyed. The law of time was turbulent, and couldn't be condensed at all. Even the 3 strands of chaotic energy were almost scattered. The unrivaled warrior and the lamp-bearer kept retreating with fear in their eyes. Obviously, they didn't dare to fight the Moon Goddess head-on. Jiangchen was the same. Blood spurted from his mouth. A ray of moonlight like a sharp sword had already landed between his eyebrows. At this moment, Jiangchun could clearly feel that death was in front of him. However, after a few breaths, Jiangchun was stunned because the ray of moonlight didn't move an inch. It was pressed between Jiangchun's eyebrows. At the same time, a hint of struggle flashed in the depths of the moon goddess's eyes. Obviously, the moon goddess hadn't been completely corroded and still retained a trace of consciousness. "Hurry up and leave!" the moon goddess said with difficulty. There was a hint of tenderness and love in the struggle in her eyes. "Good chance! Suppress!" At this moment, the lamp-bearer and the unrivaled warrior's eyes shone brightly. One of them formed a seal with both hands. It was as if the heavens were descending. The images in the sky were like ink that covered the bright moon behind the moon goddess. The other rushed out and used the ancestral realm's providence as a guide. A seal fell and pressed between the moon goddess's eyebrows. Under the double attack, the moon goddess's expression became dazed. The power in her body gradually calmed down until a trace of clarity appeared in her eyes. "Kill me!" The moon goddess came back to her senses and looked at Jiangchun with a complicated expression. "You can't suppress me. When the power in my body awakens, you will all die. There must be a way," Jiangchun said in a deep voice. He looked at the unrivaled warrior and the lamp-bearer and asked, "What other way?" "Suppress her first and think of a way slowly," the unrivaled warrior said in a deep voice. "Hurry up and attack. With just the two of us, we can't completely suppress her." Jiangchun's face turned serious when he heard that. The aura of primal chaos appeared once again, and the phantoms of dragons and tigers appeared. A rose bloomed, and a thorny flower appeared. His hands were forming a seal. A matrix appeared out of thin air. In the end, it turned into many obscure runes that were imprinted on Moon God's body. 3,000 array formations and boundaries, in addition to the powers of the three of them, finally managed to suppress the Moon God. Of course, this was only temporary. They could all feel that there was a special power in Moon Goddess's body. It was extremely terrifying, even surpassing immortal energy. This power was struggling and slowly awakening. Once this power awakens, the Moon God will break free. "What should we do?" Jiangchun sighed. They couldn't keep suppressing the Moon God forever, so they had to think of a solution as soon as possible. However, this was the first time the unrivaled warrior and the lamp-bearer had encountered such a situation. They were at a loss of what to do. "If you can come back, you will definitely have a way," the lamp-bearer said. "Back then, I also fell into darkness. It was you who brought me back to the light. It's just that I don't know what methods you used back then. Will she be saved if I return?" Jiangchun asked seriously. "Definitely." The lamp-bearer nodded. Others might not know Jiangchun's ability back then, but the lamp-bearer had a deep understanding of it. He was the first living being to enter the Great Thousand World from the ancient world, and he was also the first person to be purified by Jiangchun from the ancient world. He knew very well that if Jiangchun returned, with that impossible power, he would definitely be able to help Moon God return to the light. But could the current Jiangchun return? "He can return, but I don't know when he can return." The unrivaled warrior smiled bitterly. "Returning is inevitable, but I don't know if she can wait." "Return, return," Jiangchun whispered, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, as if he was smiling, but in fact, his heart was bitter. He also wanted to return, but he wanted to be himself more. But now, if he did not return, Moon God would completely fall into darkness. At that time, Moon God would go berserk, darkness would descend, and this Great Thousand World would really be destroyed. "How should I return?" Jiangchun sighed. Return? How could he return? Jiangchun did not know, the unrivaled warrior did not know, and the lamp-bearer did not know either. Perhaps, the only person who knew how to return was Jiangchun himself. But, he was a little confused. "Kill! The ancient world has been destroyed. The Great Thousand World and even the three worlds of Yin and Yang will be buried with our ancient world." Suddenly, angry roars came from afar, and a hole was torn in the boundary wall of the ancient world. Under the lead of the source of darkness and the dark man, dozens of dark creatures rushed into the great thousand world. Some of them used secret techniques to rush into the three worlds of Yin, and some rushed into the three worlds of Yang. As for the source of darkness and the dark man, both of them stayed in this great thousand world. Today, I will kill you! No one in this world can stop me! The source of darkness's eyes were filled with killing intent, full of anger. The ancient world had been destroyed for some reason, and his home was gone. He was already angry and depressed. Now, he was venting his anger on the three great worlds. The source of darkness also understood that in this world, only the three people in front of him could stop him. Kill these three, and the world would be united. You still want to save her? You don't know that if it weren't for her, that wisp of black mist wouldn't have corroded my ancient world. My ancient world wouldn't have changed. You say I'm the source of darkness, but what is she? At the end of the day, she's the true source. The source of darkness looked at Moon Goddess, his eyes blazing with killing intent. Now that you're awake for the time being, why don't you tell them what you did back then? Moon Goddess's beautiful face was full of bitterness and regret when she heard that. She looked at Jiang Qin and lowered her head slightly. Apart from love, there was more guilt in her eyes. She was silent for a moment, then slowly said, "When the six of us descended to the lower realm, we were forced to do so. We couldn't return to the world of immortals for the rest of our lives. I'd been thinking of ways to return to the world of immortals, until I encountered that thing." "What thing?" Jiang Qin asked. He was also curious as to what it was that could corrode an entire world. "That should be a coffin. There's a crack in the coffin," Moon Goddess said slowly. Back then, she had felt an invincible power in the coffin. She had wanted to use that power to return to the world of immortals. But who would have known? That power was too strong, too evil, and she couldn't control it. In the end, the result was the same. She was corroded, and so was the entire ancient world. Don't say that the people of the ancient world are cruel. We've also been corroded. Everything we do now is just following our hearts. If you want to blame someone, blame her. The source of darkness mocked. But we have to thank her. If it weren't for her, we wouldn't have obtained such great power. Chapter 1437. The origin of the darkness came from Moon God. This was something no one had expected. Even Moon God herself had not expected this. But if he said that she was wrong, what was wrong with that? Was it wrong to search for a way to return home to the world of immortals? Who would have known that the power within the coffin would be so strange and evil before they'd used it? That coffin is too strange. It's buried in nothingness. I found it by accident. The Moon Goddess frowned. She seemed to be suspicious and said, "But I feel like someone is guiding me to that coffin. Does that mean someone is plotting in the dark?" Jiang Qin frowned. But it was too late to say anything now. The survivors of the ancient world had descended upon the three realms, and the three realms of Yin and Yang were in shambles by now. After all, the powerhouses of the three realms had all remained on the Yellow Springs path, waiting for a glimmer of hope and survival. Without the protection of their powerhouses, it wouldn't take long for the three realms to be destroyed. In fact, the black mist might even erode the inhabitants of the three realms. What's going on? Dead? Are they all dead? The origin of the darkness and the dark man's expressions changed drastically. In the ancient realm, they could be considered as people who had become saints and ancestors. They could sense the other living beings in the ancient realm. But now, they couldn't sense the presence of those who'd gone to the three realms of Yin and Yang. It was as if they'd all been killed. How dare mere darkness scum invade the three realms of Yin with the two of us watching over them? You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Do you really think you're invincible in this world? Two sonorous voices rang out from the three realms of Yin like thunder. Their voices were so loud that they shook heaven and earth. Tens of thousands of laws broke through the three realms of Yin and transformed into two figures standing next to Jiangchen. Human Emperor? Demon Emperor? Jiangchen looked at the two in surprise. It seemed that they hadn't seen each other in a long time. They'd met once during the destruction of the six realms, but hadn't seen each other since. Why haven't you returned yet? The sky is about to fall, and you can still hold it in. Human Sovereign stared at Jiangchen with a strange look. There was a look of disappointment in his eyes. The Demon Emperor curled his lips and expressionlessly glanced at Jiangchen before shaking his head. He seemed to be very disappointed with Jiangchen. Jiangchen blushed. He wanted to return, too. After all, only by returning could he save Moon God. But how could one return just because they wanted to? Right now, he didn't even know how to return. If the ancient world is really that strong, why don't they just attack the immortal world? Why did he come to the three major worlds? In the end, the ancient world is still inferior to the immortal world. At this moment, the Demon Emperor was looking at the source of darkness and the man with a haughty expression. His eyes were filled with contempt. He also came from the immortal world and considered himself a member of the immortal world. It was only natural for the Demon Emperor to react the same way upon seeing a being from a hostile world. What a joke. What does the ancient world want? Your own world has been destroyed by the immortal world, and only a few ants like you are left. What kind of tricks do you want to play? Human Sovereign didn't mince his words and made it clear that the ancient world had been destroyed by the immortal world. The source of darkness and the man's expressions darkened, their eyes filled with murderous intent. They were very strong, and at their strongest, they were definitely stronger than true immortals. Otherwise, the ancient world wouldn't have dared to challenge the immortal world. But now, in order to destroy the three major worlds, they'd broken through the realm barrier. Their cultivation and Tao were incompatible with this world, so their cultivation was naturally suppressed. But even so, they were still confident that they could kill everyone present. The lower realms have been polluted. To prevent the immortal world from being polluted as well, we can only destroy this place. Suddenly, the Demon Emperor and Human Sovereign turned to Jiangchen at the same time. You also come from the immortal world, so you should also think for the immortal world. Jiangchen was dumbfounded. He thought that these two had come to save the world, but even if I return and recover my memories, I still won't choose to destroy the three major worlds. Jiangchen said in a low voice. Every world, every living being, every blade of grass, every tree, and even the mountains and rivers have their own reasons for existing. What are we? What right do we have to deprive them of their rights? How laughable. Only you can say such things now. When you return, your thoughts will definitely be the same as ours. Our roots are in the immortal world. Now, if we destroy all darkness, we might be able to return to the immortal world. The Human Sovereign said, looking up at the sky and shouting, We are willing to work for the immortal world, please let us return to the immortal world. However, the gate of immortality closed, and the sky was silent. No one responded. This made the Human Sovereign a little disappointed, and the Demon Emperor sighed. Ever since they'd come to the lower realms, they'd been thinking about returning to the immortal world all the time. They'd done many things, but the people of the immortal world didn't seem to see them, or perhaps they were determined not to let them return. The immortal world in your eyes doesn't welcome you, Jiangchen said mockingly. It's better to stay in the human realm. It's worth it. Whether it's worth it or not, we'll talk about it later, the Human Sovereign said softly. Then, his true chi of the ecliptic path erupted like a yellow dragon and charged at the source of darkness. At the same time, the Demon Emperor appeared. With a wave of his hand, a beam of light fell and enveloped the dark man. Both of them attacked with killing moves. That's it. What Human Sovereign? What Demon Sovereign? Bullshit. You're nothing but losers of the immortal world. The source of darkness and the dark man looked disdainful. With a shake of their bodies, they shattered the attacks of the Human Sovereign and the Demon Sovereign. Then, the two of them charged toward the Human Emperor and the Demon Emperor. However, before the battle could fully begin, several screams came from the Yang Three Realms. The source of darkness's expression changed drastically. He sensed that the people who'd entered the Yang Three Realms were all dead. Don't you know that the Yang Three Realms has 9 ancestors? How dare you invade? With the 9 of us here, the world will return to 1. At this moment, at the boundary wall of the Yang Three Realms, the 9 ancient spirits stood proudly, stepping on the corpses of the ancient world's creatures. They'd stayed in the Yang Three Realms for a long time. Their Tao skills had become more and more terrifying, even surpassing the immortal world. They didn't ascend because they felt that it was good to stay in the Yang Three Realms. Wasn't it good to become a saint and be respected by tens of thousands of people? Becoming an immortal? What was that? When they reached the immortal world, with their cultivation, wouldn't they be slaves to others? These 9 guys are getting stronger and stronger, Jiangchun exclaimed. Even now, he didn't have much chance of winning against the 9 ancient spirits. These 9 are the strongest experts of each era to begin with. Their aptitudes are extraordinary. It is only normal for them to have this level of strength now. The unrivaled being said. Back then, even I didn't dare to face these 9 head-on. Chapter 1438. No one would have thought that the 9 ancient spirits, who had stirred up the dark blood era in the boundless world, would now become the guardians of the 3 realms of Yang. The 9 ancient spirits had become saints in the 3 realms of Yang. Their lives were so comfortable that they did not even want to become immortals. What shocked Jiangchun and the others the most was that the 9 of them were not only powerful individually, but if they joined forces, even the source of darkness would not dare to fight them head-on. We don't care if the 3 realms of Yin is destroyed, but you can't touch the 3 realms of Yang. You can't touch the 3 realms of Yang, nor can you touch the boundless world. We are from the boundless world, and this is where our foundation is. If you dare to destroy our foundation, we will destroy you. At this moment, the 9 ancient spirits were very confident and stood proudly like the 9 strongest gods in the world. Even the human emperor and the demon emperor were surprised. They did not expect the 9 of them to become so powerful. If Shaoqing hadn't devoured one of them, and if the 10 ancient spirits appeared at the same time, who in the world would be able to fight against them? Jiangchun smiled bitterly. What 9 great ancient spirits? They're just ants in our eyes. If you dare to come, we will kill you. The source of darkness was surprisingly calm. A shadow appeared behind him. If one looked carefully, it was actually a world. However, this world was destroyed and was in ruins. This was the ancient realm. He took care of the destroyed ancient realm in his own Tao technique. With a world as the foundation. His combat strength. At this moment, the human emperor and the demon emperor's expressions changed drastically. They were no longer as calm as before. They knew very well how powerful a person who had a world as his support was. Humph! 9 ants, even if the original seat doesn't do anything, I can destroy you. The dark man had a look of contempt as a shadow appeared behind him. Upon closer inspection, those were thousands of destroyed worlds. These are my military exploits. These are my achievements. These worlds that I destroyed belong to my Taoist magic. Do you really think that the original seat and I don't have the strength? The dark man raised his eyebrows and said, Let's fight. However, at that moment, no one dared to make a move. The source of darkness, that is, the original seat, did not dare to make a move. After all, Jiang Chen's lineup was too extravagant. The 2 emperors of the human race and the demon race, the 2 invincible lanterns, the 9 great ancient spirits, and Jiang Chen who inherited the fate of the great 1,000 worlds. With such a lineup, even a true immortal would not dare to casually make a move. What? Aren't you going to fight? Are you guys fighting or not? If you have the guts, fight first. After a dozen breaths of time, both sides began to clamor, one more ferocious than the other. However, none of them made a move. Why fight? If you want to fight, go fight in the immortal world. Jiang Chen suggested. The ancient world was destroyed by the immortal realm, and the immortal realm also wants to destroy the three major worlds. Logically speaking, we have a common enemy. That makes sense. The dark man nodded. The celestial realm is truly detestable. This isn't appropriate, right? We are all from the immortal world. The human emperor said in a low voice, staring at Jiangchen with an unfriendly expression. Hurry up and return. Looking at you now, you really make people angry. No one can destroy the immortal world, the demon emperor said. I don't care what should be done, but it looks like we won't be able to fight today. Then let's not fight. What fight? We're living comfortably in the three young realms. What's the point of fighting and killing? In the end, they began to bicker again. After a few hours, they seemed to be tired of talking and finally fell silent. Dismissed. The final battle will come in the end. Before leaving, the primordial seat and the dark man spoke, looking meaningfully at Jiangchen. The two laughed, as if mocking Jiangchen. Jiangchen was a little dumbfounded. What's wrong with these two guys? It's all going to end. No one can stop it. Perhaps everything was already destined. The human emperor and the demon emperor sighed. They seemed to know something as well. After exchanging a wry smile, they returned to the three young realms. After that, Jiangchen, the unrivaled warrior, the lantern bearer, and the moon goddess returned to the ancestral realm. As soon as they returned, Jiangchen anxiously called a group of experts of the ancestral realm over and asked about the return. He wanted to return because only by returning could he save the moon goddess. The most important thing was that Jiangchen had a premonition that the matter of the great thousand worlds would not end here. A real war was about to begin. Although the primordial seat and the dark man had left, it might not be long before they came back again. At that time, their combat strength would definitely skyrocket. What worried Jiangchen the most was that the primordial seat and the dark man wanted to destroy the three young realms. The human emperor and the demon emperor also wanted to destroy the three young realms. If the four of them joined forces, would the three young realms be able to stop them? Only by returning and regaining their peak strength could they stop all of this. I seem to have seen this power in an ancient book. At this moment, Lu Ming frowned and stood in front of the moon goddess. He muttered, "It seems to be the power of the Dark Moon Clan. It's an ancient clan that attacked the immortal realm a long time ago and was destroyed in the end. In that era, even the immortal realm was dark. The entire immortal realm was almost destroyed." When everyone heard this, their faces were filled with shock. The immortal realm was an existence that could even destroy the ancient realm. Such a powerful world was almost destroyed by a single clan. How powerful was that clan? The moon is bright and the moon's back is dark. It's like the great Tao of the world, yin and yang are separated. Lu Ming said, "If the world is bright, then the Dark Moon Clan is the darkest of the great Tao. The power of a clan controls the darkest power in the world. Naturally, they can contend with the immortal realm. Then tell me how to resolve this power." Jiangchen was anxious. After talking for a long time, he could not come up with a solution. "Perhaps your Tao soul can do it," the lamp bearer said. "Back then, you led me from the darkness to the light. Although I don't know what method you used, you definitely used the myriad transformations heavenly lamp." However, after saying this, the lamp bearer shook his head and said, "It's just that there was another lamp. It should be with the Empress. Perhaps we need to use two lamps." Before Jiangchen could say anything, the unrivaled warrior immediately rejected this idea. "The two lamps cannot meet," the unrivaled warrior said in a low voice. "All transformations return to the same place. If the lamps meet, the world will return to ruins. Is this why the Empress has been avoiding me?" Jiangchen whispered. He glanced at the pale moon goddess and sighed. "What should I do?" "Follow your heart." The moon goddess's face was pale, but she still smiled. However, there was too much bitterness and helplessness in her smile. Chapter 1439. What kind of place was the celestial world? Why did the human, demon, and Yuetian all want to go back? Was that place really that good? It's all my fault. If I die now, it'll be a relief, Yueshin whispered with a smile on her face. She didn't want Jiangchen to worry, nor did she want others to see the pain in her heart. Jiangchen didn't say anything, only gently stroking her hair. After a few breaths of time, he slowly got up and gazed into the distance. His expression gradually turned solemn. The path is ahead, there will definitely be a way. With that, Jiangchen told Lu Ming and the others to take care of Yueshin before he left. The ancestral realm was very big. The mountains and rivers were always there, and the sun, moon, and stars were everlasting. Jiangchen wandered around the ancestral realm, traversing the mountains and rivers, and stepping on thousands of rivers. He was slowly perfecting his superior Dao technique. My Dao is the Dao of everyone in the world. Everyone has it, and so do I, Jiangchen whispered, comprehending the Dao technique in his heart. Time slowly passed, and in the blink of an eye, a year had passed. During this year, the three worlds were very quiet and peaceful. Yuan Zhu and the Dark Man didn't appear. The human and demon emperors didn't come out of the three Yin realms either. As for the three Yang realms, it was even more prosperous. With the enthusiastic help of the 9 ancient spirits, the three Yang realms' current strength vaguely felt like it could suppress the three Yin realms. In the three Yang realms, the people of the world were singing praises of the 9 ancient spirits. With the power of will of heaven and earth, the 9 ancient spirits were even more extraordinary. However, to the 9 ancient spirits, although their days in the three Yang realms were comfortable, they still wanted to ascend to immortality every time they were asked. However, they were worried that the celestial world was about to destroy the three worlds. They were afraid that someone would ascend and bring darkness into the celestial world. Therefore, if they ascended to immortality, would the celestial world tolerate them? If not, then they would definitely die after ascending. We came to the three Yang realms to become immortals. If we can't become immortals, we'd rather die, one of the ancient spirits said in a low voice. Although I'm living a good life now, if I don't go to the immortal realm to take a look, I won't be satisfied even if I die. The purpose of cultivation is to become an immortal. Now that the path to becoming an immortal is right in front of us, yet we don't dare to ascend. Fate really makes fools of us. The 9 ancient spirits sighed as they raised their heads to look at the endless sky. It was as though they could see the mountains, rivers, sun, and moon of the immortal world. After the final battle, as long as I am still alive, I will ascend. Even if I die in the immortal world, I will accept it. Yes. After the final battle, if you're still alive, you can ascend. In the end, the 9 great ancient spirits finished their discussion and began to go into seclusion. Everyone knew that as long as Yuan Zhu, the Dark Man, and the twin emperors of human and demon were present, the three worlds would inevitably have a decisive battle. This battle concerned the life and death of the three worlds. The 9 great ancient spirits were extremely strong, but they didn't dare act carelessly either. Right now, they were in seclusion, wishing to break through again. By the way, have you been to the celestial realm? At this moment, in the ancestral realm, the lamp-bearer and the unrivaled warrior sat together, looking at the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers. The lamp-bearer asked curiously. He had a feeling that the unrivaled warrior wasn't simple. I've been there, and then I came back. The unrivaled warrior smiled. That's not a good place. As expected. With your strength, you can break through the gate of heaven and ascend to become an immortal. I knew it was impossible for you not to have been to the celestial realm. The lamp-bearer frowned and then asked, Is the celestial realm really that bad? It's all the same. The great wide world isn't beautiful either. The unrivaled warrior said, It's just that I feel that in comparison, I still like this place. It's the same wherever I go. The lamp-bearer said, Of course, if he returns and wants to ascend to the celestial realm, I can accompany him. You came from the ancient realm, and the darkness first erupted in the ancient realm. The celestial realm can't tolerate you. The unrivaled warrior said, If you go, you'll be courting death. The lamp-bearer heard this and smiled without saying anything. The celestial realm can't tolerate him. Perhaps. However, if it really came to that step, even if the road was broken, he would still take a trip. Not for anything else, but for that man. Hey, kid. I have something to discuss with you. At the same time, in a forest in the ancestral realm, Yuanzwa suddenly appeared and found Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen's expression changed greatly. The power in his body erupted, and he was ready to fight. Why are you panicking? If I really want to fight, would I come alone? Yuanzwa said angrily. The power in his body was calm, and it didn't look like he was going to fight. Discuss what? What's there to discuss between us? Jiang Chen's face was cold. He really had nothing to say to Yuanzwa. However, Yuanzwa's next sentence made Jiang Chen's heart beat violently. I can help you solve the dark power in Yueshin's body, but the premise is that you have to help me find the Red Spider Lily clan. Yuanzwa said. What? You have a way? Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed. Naturally, he didn't believe him. As long as I devour Yueshin's cultivation, the dark power in her body will naturally disappear. However, if that happens, Yueshin will become immortal, Yuanzwa said. However, for her, it's a good thing. After all, she's still conscious and wants to return to the light. You don't play tricks. Jiang Chen stared at Yuanzwa. He was worried that if Yuanzwa devoured Yueshin's cultivation, he would also devour Yueshin. Jiang Chen didn't want to see that happen. Don't worry, Yuanzwa said. Now, let's talk about the Red Spider Lily clan. I want to find them. Why? Jiang Chen asked. The Red Spider Lily clan had disappeared for a long time. Ever since they joined the Yang Three Realms, no one knew where they went. Perhaps they were hiding in the Yang Three Realms, or perhaps they were still in the ancestral land of the Red Spider Lily clan. You really don't know? Yuanzwa was stunned. The Red Spider Lily clan is immortal. Why do you think that's the reason? Is it really because of their true bodies? Or because of their ancestral land? Without waiting for Jiang Chen to speak, Yuanzwa shook his head. No. Mather is correct. The reason the Red Spider Lily clan is immortal is because there is a grain of soil in their ancestral land. Soil? Just one grain? Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. What was the use of a grain of soil? Could it be that a grain of soil was enough to make the Red Spider Lily clan immortal? The coffin that Yueshin found was buried under the soil, Yuanzwa said. The soil was scattered all over the world, but most of it was destroyed by the immortal realm. However, one grain of soil was left behind. No one knows where it went. Do you think that grain of soil is the same as the one in the Red Spider Lily clan? If it is, then the Red Spider Lily clan must have been corrupted by the darkness. And I, naturally, want them. I want to find that grain of soil. Chapter 1440. The origin soil did not belong to this world. It belonged to the immortal world. It came from the Dark Moon clan and belonged to the darkest part of the world. However, to the people of this world, this origin soil was like a holy medicine to those who had been corrupted. It was easy to imagine that the Red Spider Lilies were immortal because of that grain of origin soil. If the origin soil was obtained by the seed of origin, the consequences would be unimaginable. According to the seed of origin, he wanted to devour the Red Spider Lily clan and obtain more dark force. If the seed of origin devoured the Red Spider Lily clan and obtained more dark force and the origin soil, then who in this world could stop him? The moon god will understand me, Jiang Chen said softly. He did not want to make this deal with the seed of origin. I am only here to discuss with you. As for whether you agree or not, that is your problem. The seed of origin chuckled. When the time comes and you see your loved ones fall into the darkness and cannot be saved, then don't blame me for not giving you a chance. We don't need you to worry about us, Jiang Chen said in a low voice. After speaking, Jiang Chen waved his hand, indicating that the seed of origin could leave. The seed of origin did not leave immediately. Instead, he looked at Jiang Chen with a smile that was not a smile and said, You are so calm because you know that I cannot find the Red Spider Lily clan, right? What if I tell you that finding the Red Spider Lily clan is only a matter of time? Will you reconsider my suggestion? There is no room for discussion. Jiang Chen rejected him directly. This kind of thing was not a matter of discussion. There was no room for discussion. If Yuan's strength was allowed to increase by a large margin, then the three worlds would definitely be destroyed. When that time comes, not to mention saving people, even he himself would die. Okay, remember what you said now. You will regret it. The seat of Origin's face darkened. After glaring at Jiang Chen, he finally left. Not long after the seat of Origin left, a dark figure suddenly appeared beside Jiang Chen. This figure was also filled with dark force. It was also a corrupted being. However, Jiang Chen wasn't afraid at all. Instead, he looked at the other party meaningfully and asked slowly, "Have you really been corrupted? We've been corroded a long time ago, but we haven't lost our consciousness," said the figure. Then, he transformed into his true form. It was none other than one of the patriarchs of the Permitha Flower clan. He had probably been in the vicinity the whole time, hiding his presence. He had also heard the conversation between Yuan Zhan and Jiang Chen. "Why have you come this time?" Jiang Chen asked. "Seeking refuge." The ancestor of the Permitha Flower clan was very direct. "Back then, you promised that no matter what, you would help the Permitha Flower clan. Now, it's time for you to fulfill your promise." "Oh, could it be that you had already expected this day to come?" Jiang Chen asked. "Of course. As long as the Origin land remains in the hands of the Resurrection Lily clan, that day will come." The ancestor sighed. "We have no choice. Now that the entire clan has formed a connection with the Origin land, we won't be corrupted. However, we can't lose the Origin land either. If we lose it, our entire clan will disappear in an instant." Jiang Chen frowned when he heard this. He was even more confused. The power of darkness could corrode everything. Even the celestial world was wary of it. Then, how did the Permitha Flower clan resist the power of darkness? Although they had the power of darkness, they hadn't been corrupted. "Protect us and I'll help you deal with the power of darkness in the moon god's body," the ancestor said. "Perhaps she can even benefit from this disaster." "Really?" Jiang Chen hurriedly asked. One had to know that the moon god was extremely important to Jiang Chen. If he could save the moon god, Jiang Chen was naturally willing to help the Permitha Flower clan. Moreover, even if the moon god wasn't involved, Jiang Chen would still protect the Permitha Flower clan. He couldn't let them fall into Yuan Zhan's hands. Otherwise, this world would be destroyed. "I swear in the name of the clan that it's absolutely true," the ancestor of the Permitha Flower clan said seriously. "If you agree now, I'll immediately have the clan come over and migrate to the ancestral realm." "This? Okay." Jiang Chen nodded. It could be seen that the ancestor of the Permitha Flower clan was really anxious. Perhaps it wouldn't be long before Yuan Zhan found the Permitha Flower clan. They didn't have time. Buzz! At this moment, the ancestor's body bloomed with light and transformed into his main body. This was a huge Permitha flower that took root in the void. At this moment, this Permitha flower bloomed, and one after another Permitha flowers appeared. These were all his clansmen. He had always brought his clansmen with him. "It seems that you've been prepared," Jiang Chen whispered and brought the Permitha Flower clan to the number 1 sect in the south of the ancestral realm. As soon as he returned, Invincible Warrior was immediately shocked. He stared at the Permitha Flower clan with an unfriendly expression. After all, this clan had betrayed the Great Thousand World and defected to the Yang Three Realms. Now, this clan dared to appear and even dared to come to the ancestral realm. Weren't they courting death? Fortunately, Jiang Chen explained in time. Otherwise, with Invincible Warrior's strength, it was enough to destroy the entire Permitha Flower clan. "What did you say? Origin soil?" At this moment, the lantern bearer was shocked. He had heard of the Origin soil, but he didn't expect it to be in the Permitha Flower clan. "These guys are treasures now," We have to protect them well. Jiang Chen smiled bitterly. They betrayed the great thousand world, and now we have to protect them. How ridiculous. Invincible Warrior also smiled bitterly, thinking that this script was a bit too much. They had to protect traitors, and they couldn't refuse. Let's get down to business first. Jiang Chen looked at the ancestors of the Prometha flower clan and pointed at the weak moon goddess. Hurry up. Of course. Don't worry. Then, the ancestors of the Prometha flower clan took action. Streaks of dark power fell like a black dragon and entered Moon Goddess's body. For a moment, Moon Goddess's body trembled, and her aura skyrocketed. A bright moon vaguely rose. However, there was a wisp of darkness steaming in the bright moon, and as time passed, this wisp of darkness became denser and denser. Can you guys do it? The dark power in her body is getting stronger and stronger. Jiang Chen's face was gloomy. He couldn't stay calm in the face of this. Don't worry. The worst-case scenario is to become a cripple. Shut up. Watch. The ancestors of the Prometha flower clan seemed to be struggling, and the power in their bodies was about to be exhausted. At the same time, the dark light in Moon Goddess's eyes skyrocketed, and even the bright moon behind her became a black moon. However, Jiang Chen and the others could feel and see that there was endless clarity in Moon Goddess's dark eyes. I'm back? After half a day, Moon Goddess spoke, as if she was surprised. She felt the power in her body, and all her divine power had turned into dark power. However, this dark power was completely under her control, and it wouldn't erode her soul and mind. Chapter 1441. She wore a purple robe and had a head of white hair. Her eyes were as dark as the abyss, and the moon behind her was even darker. Under the moon god's light, everything around her became so bright and full of light. As for her, she seemed to have fallen into endless darkness, like a fairy in the darkness. She looked at Jiang Chen excitedly. She couldn't believe that she could control the power of darkness in her body. Jiang Chen was also very excited. Seeing that the moon god had recovered, he couldn't help but rush up and hug her tightly. The people around them quietly left. They were very tactful and didn't want to disturb Jiang Chen and the moon god. You're finally back. Jiang Chen sighed in his heart. The moon god he saw now was the real moon god. Although the bright moon had already turned black, its mind was still clear and bright. Do you hate me? After a few breaths, the moon god looked up at Jiang Chen. She couldn't hide the self-blame in her eyes. She knew very well that if she hadn't schemed against Jiang Chen back then, Jiang Chen would have returned long ago. The thing that made the moon god feel the most ashamed and unable to face Jiang Chen was that she had wanted to kill Jiang Chen before. Jiang Chen smiled and shook his head. He didn't blame the moon god. After all, the moon god had been corroded by darkness and lost her consciousness. It's good that you're back. Don't leave again. Jiang Chen stroked the moon god's shoulder and said gently, I won't leave again. The moon god nodded and snuggled up to Jiang Chen's chest like a little bird. The two of them looked up at the starry sky of the ancestral realm. It was very peaceful. There wasn't the passion of a reunion after a long separation, nor was there a fiery passion. Everything was so relaxed. In the middle of the night, the moon god slowly got up and said, I have to return to the ancient underworld to take care of some things. Once I'm done, I'll disband the ancient underworld and return to your side. Okay, I'll wait for you in the ancestral realm, Jiang Chen said softly. In the end, the two of them parted ways. As for Jiang Chen, he didn't go anywhere. He sat cross-legged on the ground, set up a formation, and began to cultivate in seclusion. Time was running out, and Yuanzu would soon know that the red spider lilies were in the ancestral realm. With the original seat's personality, he would definitely come knocking on the door. At that time, a great battle would begin. If this battle were to begin, it would most likely be a decisive battle. It was as if a fuse had been lit, and a decisive battle was unavoidable. Why is the immortal path of the three realms of Yangon? Is it closed? At the same time, in the young three realms, the 9 ancient spirits opened up a void. Looking at the empty space in front of them, the 9 ancient spirits had ugly expressions. This place was originally where the path to celestial cultivation in the 3 realms of the young realm was. They originally wanted to test it out and step onto the path to celestial cultivation. But today, he discovered that the path to immortality had disappeared. A decree from the immortal realm? At this moment, one of the ancient spirits' expression turned ugly. He saw a decree filled with immortal force where the path of immortality had disappeared. There were no other words on the decree except for the word suppress. Damn it! Is the immortal realm planning to completely destroy our hope? How ruthless! They actually suppressed the path to immortality. This is too much. The 9 ancient spirits were furious. The path to immortality in the upper-class world was cut off, and the path to immortality in the 3 realms of the young 3 realms was suppressed. Did they have to go to the 3 realms of the 3 realms? But thinking about it carefully, since the immortal realm had taken action and suppressed the path to immortality in the 3 realms of the young 3 realms, then the path to immortality in the 3 realms of the 3 realms was most likely suppressed as well. In this way, the hope of immortality in the 3 realms of the 3 realms was completely cut off. We have cultivated for tens of thousands of years and experienced life and death, but the immortal realm doesn't give us any hope. This is too much. If one day I go to the immortal realm, I will definitely ask the immortal king why. The 9 ancient spirits roared angrily and roared toward the sky, their voices echoing throughout the 3 realms of the young 3 realms. On the other side, in the 3 realms of the 3 realms, the human emperor and the demon emperor looked at the suppressed path to immortality and smiled bitterly. At this moment, they completely understood that the immortal realm had given up on them and cut off their path to return. We wholeheartedly wanted to return to the immortal realm and work for it, but in the end, in their eyes, we are just losers. The human emperor's expression was ugly, and a stifling fire burned in his heart. Ever since they had descended to the lower realm, they had been working for the immortal realm, hoping to gain the immortal realm's recognition and allow them to return. But in the end, they realized that the immortal realm had never intended to let them return. Perhaps in the eyes of the immortal kings, they were just losers. Perhaps it's time to rebel, the demon emperor said in a low voice. Since the immortal realm doesn't want us, then we don't have to do anything for it anymore. I am Taoist heaven span, so why should I break in with the heavens? What do you plan to do? The human emperor's expression froze. Although he was asking, he had actually guessed the demon emperor's plan. If the immortal realm doesn't want us to become immortals, then all the more I will become one. Not only will I become an immortal, but I will also make the 3 realms immortal. I want to see how capable the immortal realm is. The demon emperor's eyes shone brightly. His black Taoist robe fluttered, and he left the 3 realms. The human emperor followed closely behind. After the 2 entered the greater 1,000 realms, they entered the ancestral realm. Oh? What are the 2 of you doing in my ancestral realm? The unrivaled warrior immediately sensed their presence, and found them with a grave expression. This was because the human emperor and the demon emperor had previously threatened to destroy the 3 realms. Therefore, the unrivaled warrior didn't treat these 2 emperors well. To help you reconnect the path to immortality, the demon emperor said seriously. I know that the path to immortality in the greater 1,000 realms is in the ancestral realm, but it's broken. I can help you reconnect it. The immortal realm has abandoned us. The human emperor sighed. In that case, why should we continue to work for the immortal realm? Oh? The unrivaled warrior frowned. He naturally wouldn't believe the 2 emperors just because of a few words. It's up to you to believe it or not. The demon emperor's temper was also very bad. He said bluntly, it doesn't matter if you don't want to become an immortal, but there are many people in the world who want to become an immortal. Don't cut off the path to immortality for the sake of your thoughts. In this world, only I know how to reconnect the path to immortality. The unrivaled warrior couldn't help but fall silent. He was deliberating and considering. After a few breaths, he called the lamp-bearer over and asked, "What do you think? This matter? It's better to ask him." The lamp-bearer muttered. Back then, the path to immortality was also cut off by him. This, he didn't return, the unrivaled warrior said with a frown. As soon as he finished speaking, Jiangchen appeared here. With a smile on his face, he looked at the two emperors and said, "I naturally agree that the two of you want to reconnect the path to immortality. But are you sure that the path really leads to the immortal realm? There are two paths to immortality in the greater thousand realms. There's one that was born and raised by heaven and earth. Later on, I opened up the other, and these two paths are not good paths," Jiangchen teased. It was obvious that there was a hidden meaning in his words. Chapter 1442. There had always been only one path to immortality in each major world. Only the greater world had opened up a second path because of one of Jiangchen's lives. Jiangchen hadn't come back yet, so his memory wasn't complete. However, he could guess that neither of these immortal paths was a good path. If the innate path to immortality could really lead to immortality, why were there so few people since ancient times? There had to be something wrong with that path. Or rather, the world of immortals had always been preventing people from becoming immortals. As for the other path, the one Jiangchen had opened up, it had probably gone astray and led to another world. Therefore, no matter what, either path was a good one. Who knew if it was a good or bad thing to continue on the path to immortality? The three major worlds are in such a situation now. Danger is imminent. If something unexpected happens, the three major worlds will suffer. Unrivaled Immortal said solemnly. I'm not afraid of anything. I dare say that I'm invincible here. If I don't want to die, no one can make me die. You're the ruler of this world, so of course it doesn't matter. The Demon King didn't give Unrivaled Immortal any face. Instead, he looked at him with a hint of mockery and contempt. You don't care, but what about your descendants? What about the ancestral realm? What about the greater world? Actually, you all know that no matter how bad the world of immortals is to us, it's the last pure land. Dark matter has descended, the origin land has appeared, and so has the origin of darkness. The three major worlds won't be able to withstand it, and will be destroyed. If everyone can become immortals and leave this place, it'll be the equivalent of saving the three major worlds. The Demon King's words made sense, and Jiangchen and Unrivaled Immortal didn't deny it. However, the current Jiangchen really couldn't trust the Demon Emperor and the Human Emperor. These two were very scheming. He really didn't know what they wanted. Deep love, deep hatred. The Human Emperor sighed. The paths to immortality in the three realms have been suppressed by the world of immortals and can't be opened. The only path that can still be opened is the path to the greater world. The Demon Sovereign and I both love the immortal realm. Thus, in order to return to the immortal realm, we're willing to do anything, no matter the cost. But now, in the eyes of the immortal realm, the Devil Emperor and I are nothing more than ants. They don't care about us at all. As they spoke, a trace of helplessness and bitterness appeared in the eyes of the Mortal Emperor and Devil Emperor, but there was even more hatred in their eyes. They were defeated, and it was precisely because they were defeated that they were forced to descend to the lower realm. This was a form of banishment, a form of banishment. In the eyes of the people in the immortal world, the loser was nothing. No matter how much he did for the immortal world, he was still a loser. There are some things that you will know when you return. The Demon Emperor sighed. We want to return to the immortal realm, but the immortal realm doesn't want us to. It's not because of the power of darkness, but because they're afraid of us. The immortal realm is afraid of you? Jiangchen was stunned. In the vast immortal realm, there were millions of immortals and immortal kings. How could they be afraid of two emperors? Jiangchen's memory was incomplete, and he had never been to the immortal realm in this life. But he could imagine how powerful the immortal realm was. After all, the immortal realm was an existence that could destroy even the ancient realm. Back then, the six of us represented the six great powers, and we were all under the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord. But after that battle, the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord fell, and our 6 great powers suffered. In the end, the 6 of us were forced to flee to the lower realm, the mortal emperor explained. The 6 of us are the last hope of the 6 great powers, and even the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord's bloodline. At this point, there was no need for the mortal emperor and devil emperor to explain further. Since they were the last hope, the 6 of them were the strongest. That was why the immortal realm was afraid of them and didn't want them to return to the immortal realm. The 10,000 vehicle immortal lord is your father, the devil emperor said, raising an eyebrow. So, you still don't want to return to the immortal realm? Don't you want revenge? There's no proof, why should I believe it? Jiangchen said softly, but his heart still throbbed when he heard the words 10,000 vehicle immortal lord. Buzz! Suddenly, a tremor erupted from Jiangchen's body, and a drop of essence blood appeared. It was a drop of the 10,000 transformations divine king's essence blood. At this moment, the drop of essence blood was burning, and an image appeared, reflecting the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers, with mist-like immortal chi. It seemed to be the immortal realm. Above the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers there was a man who looked like a teenager. His hair was draped over his shoulders, and he looked into the distance with a devilish smile, as if he was looking down on everything in the world. Suddenly, the man turned around, and as if he saw Jiang Chen and the others, he smiled and nodded. He couldn't be heard, but the man's lips were moving. I'll wait for your return. Jiang Chen and the others naturally understood what the man was saying. Meanwhile, the human emperor and devil emperor's figures started to tremble, and their eyes were filled with excitement. They knew that the image was fake, but their eyes reddened, and they even knelt down. 10,000 vehicle immortal lord! We let you down! The mortal emperor and devil emperor sighed, their voices hoarse. This man is the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord? Jiangchen frowned. Upon closer inspection, he realized that the man did look similar to him. He's your father. The number 1 immortal lord in the immortal realm below the immortal king realm. The devil emperor said seriously. Your memories are gone, but the blood in your body won't lie. Can't you feel it? In fact, after the image appeared, Jiang Chen's body resonated, as if sensing something. It was a feeling of blood and water, the greatest kind of feeling in the world. He's really my father. Jiang Chen murmured, reaching out to touch the man in the image. However, the essence blood returned to Jiang Chen's body, and the image disappeared. Everything was gone. He was suppressed under Kunlun Mountain. It's because of him that the 6 of us survived, the devil emperor said. He exchanged his life for our future. Say, should we return to the immortal realm and save him? Wait for me. Jiangchen did not waste any time. The words, wait for me, were enough to explain everything. The lamp bearer said solemnly, I'll accompany you back to the immortal realm. It was Jiangchen who led the lamp bearer to the light, and it was Jiangchen's ever-changing heavenly lamp that allowed him to be reborn. Everything he had was given to him by Jiangchen. In the lamp bearer's heart, as long as Jiangchen opened his mouth and nodded his head, he would find a way even if he wanted this world. Why do I feel that something is wrong? Me too. At the same time, Tianzong and Tianhong had strange expressions on their faces on the road to the underworld. They felt that their consciousnesses were gradually dissipating, as if they were about to be taken away from them. Could it be that he's returning? We're going to merge with him? Tianzong exclaimed. Impossible. This is impossible. I want to be myself. Actually, after merging with him, we'll still be ourselves. Let's get over it. We can't escape the trap of 10 lifetimes. Tianhong smiled bitterly, but he was still quite optimistic. Chapter 1443. A drop of essence blood appeared, illuminated by the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord. Jiang Chen's heart palpitated, as though he had unlocked some kind of shackle. Tianzong and Tianhong, who were far away on the Yellow Springs Road, sensed it. They realized that Jiang Chen was not far from returning. The two of them sat together, looking at each other with a faint smile. There was bitterness, doubt, and excitement on their faces. Of course, there was still hope. They knew that no one could break the 10 reincarnation cycle. Otherwise, Jiang Chen would have died long ago. How could he have lived until this life? Since that was the case, they could only accept it. And this last hope was that they would still be themselves after the fusion. Actually, he's been quite good in this life, Tianzong said softly. He has never forced me. Back then, he also said that he could choose not to return. He's been quite good. It's just a pity that the wheel of fate will not stop. He has forgotten the past, but fate is still spinning. He can't avoid it. Tianhong sighed. They were one with Jiang Chen. In fact, they understood Jiang Chen better. If not for the general trend, they firmly believed that Jiang Chen would rather not return. Speaking of which, you have all the memories. Then tell me, what kind of person was he in the past? Tianzong asked curiously. Tianhong was a remnant soul, and also the most important part of Jiang Chen. He inherited all the memories of Jiang Chen's previous lives. But for some reason, Tianhong refused to say anything. If he dies, all of you will die. I'll be the last hope. Tianhong's expression suddenly turned solemn. His eyes shone brightly as he said, This remnant soul of mine is the last hope. This is the last resort? Tianzong asked. Tianhong did not speak. He only stared at Tianzong. At the same time, an obscure aura spread. Tianzong's expression changed drastically. He felt like he was about to be devoured. If he can't return normally, then I'll be in charge of the mission of returning. Tianhong smiled. I can fuse with all of you, but I won't do that. After all, I'm just a card, a trump card. At this point, Tianhong could not help but reveal a trace of killing intent. However, there was also a trace of fear in his eyes. He was silent, but he pointed at the endless sky above his head and said, Someone is watching. Do you think the immortals in the sky are all useless? Oh. Tianzong dragged out his voice. Naturally, he understood the reason behind it. At the same time, Tianzong understood that if Jiang Chen did not return, he would never be able to rise again. This was because the immortals in the heavens had been watching Jiang Chen. It was very difficult for them to descend to the lower realm. Otherwise, they would have long sent people to kill Jiang Chen. What a pity! My physical body is sentient and has its own consciousness. If I were to fuse with him, I would truly cease to exist. Tianzong let out a long sigh. However, Tianzong was still grateful to Jiang Chen. If it weren't for Tianzong's physical body, he wouldn't have been able to give birth to his consciousness. In the end, everything that the Sky Sect had was given to it by Jiang Chen. You can return the physical body to him, and you can keep your consciousness. Tianhong blinked and looked around. There are so many physical bodies here. You want to pick one? It's just possession. What are you afraid of? Tianzong had always wanted to be himself, to be Jiang Chen. Therefore, he had never thought of abandoning this physical body. Now, hearing Tianhong's words, Tianzong's expression turned strange. He muttered, Was his first life also a fraud? What do you think? Tianhong smiled. Tianzong covered his eyes and smiled bitterly. Damn it. I knew it. Physical bodies can be changed, but one's nature can't be changed. He's a natural fraud. At the same time, in the ancestral realm, Jiang Chen chose to go into seclusion. At the same time, spirit formations were being set up all over the ancestral realm. Those who understood spirit formations, and restrictions were all taking action. They were going to set up a shocking formation to deceive heaven and earth and cover the eyes of the immortals in the heavens. Speaking of which, what are we afraid of? It's just a continuation of the immortal path. Even if the immortals in the heavens don't agree, they can't stop us, right? Could it be that they can descend to the lower realm? I think so too. If the immortals in the heavens could descend to the lower realm, they would have done so long ago. Many people were discussing while setting up the formation. They couldn't understand why they had to be so careful. I've been to the immortal world. The cultivators in the immortal world aren't that simple. If they're really forced into a corner, they can still descend to the lower realm. The unrivaled warrior said. The human emperor and the demon emperor are examples. They were also immortals back then, but didn't they still descend to the lower realm? But everyone was still puzzled. Fortunately, the unrivaled warrior had enough prestige in the ancestral realm. After waving his hand, everyone stopped talking. At this moment, in the ruins of the ancestral court, the time domain was shaking, and waves of obscure fluctuations were erupting and spreading. If someone was in the time domain, they would be shocked to find that there was immortal chi lingering in this place. Moreover, as time passed, the immortal chi here became denser and denser, and even immortal light sprinkled down. In the immortal light, mysterious runes were born, turning into obscure runes that floated in the time domain. At this moment, a pair of eyes suddenly opened, and a domineering aura erupted. At the same time, the fate of heaven and earth gathered, and a rune condensed from immortal chi fell into his body. It's me! The second court master of the ancestral court! Wakako! This person roared, gathered immortal chi, condensed immortal fate, and comprehended the laws of the immortal Tao at this moment. He stepped on the broken path and walked to the immortal path. Earth Immortal Lu! As expected of Wakako, the overlord. He actually broke through. He became Earth Immortal Lu. In the time domain, many people woke up, and their eyes were filled with excitement and envy. However, these people soon began to cultivate again, and there wasn't much noise. Time passed slowly. After a month in the outside world, immortal chi erupted again, and another immortal fate rune condensed. This time, the reddish-gold radiance broke through the clouds, and the phantom of a primordial god rose up. At this moment, Jianglu stood in place, surrounded by immortal chi, and roared, I've become an immortal! Jianglu, this fool, has become an immortal! I will soon! Xiao Qingyi's expression was ugly. He wasn't jealous. He just felt that he wasn't good enough. After all, he had devoured an ancient spirit, and his foundation was extremely deep. Logically speaking, he should be the first person to break through and become an Earth Immortal Lu. But now, before him, Wakako and Jianglu had both become immortals. This was a huge blow to him. However, something that shocked him even more happened. 5 days later in the outside world, in the time domain, an extremely terrifying extreme Inchi erupted, and at the same time, a snow-like immortal fate was formed. Chapter 1444. Extreme Inchi swept across, and immortal fate condensed. A beautiful figure floated in the air, and immortal chi rose. At this moment, Xiao Qingyi's face darkened, and the corners of his mouth were almost crooked. He looked at Bai Fingyu, unable to accept that Bai Fingyu had become an immortal before him. Am I that weak? Xiao Qingyi began to doubt himself. A few days later, in the time domain, a figure stood proudly between heaven and earth like the Dharma embodiment of heaven and earth. It was an expressionless man, and his eyes seemed to be looking down at the past, present, and future. At the same time, Xiao Qingyi roared out, and immortal chi erupted from his body, and immortal fate condensed. I've finally become an immortal! Xiao Qingyi was extremely excited. At the same time, he looked at the figure and smiled. Thank you. That's the ancient spirit that Xiao Qingyi devoured, right? So powerful! Xiao Qingyi hadn't broken through before. It's most likely because of this ancient spirit. Everyone muttered in their hearts. Soon, they fell silent and focused on their own cultivation. Time passed slowly, and the days in the outside world also passed day by day. Until half a year later, on this day, Jiangchun woke up from his cultivation state with a smile on his face, but he didn't say anything. Behind him, under his feet, and above his head, there were flowers floating, and there were also dragon and tiger figures vibrating. 3 wisps of chaotic aura gathered together, and propped him up like a world tree. The 3 Tao souls each shone with colorful light, as if they were going to illuminate everything in the world. She's not back yet? After a few breaths, Jiangchun frowned. He counted the days and realized that the moon goddess had been gone for a long time. Logically speaking, she should be back by now. Did something happen? Jiang Chen's heart tightened. He knew that although the ancient netherworld was established by the moon goddess, that place was very deep, and the moon goddess wasn't the only powerful cultivator there. Perhaps there was someone in the ancient netherworld who could contend with the moon goddess. Then, what was going on? The moon goddess hadn't returned yet. Buzz! At this moment, there was a rumble in the ancestral realm. Everything turned illusory, and the great Tao formed. A beam of light shot into the sky. The beam of light didn't have any shackles, and it continued to shoot forward, eventually tearing through the void, breaking through the heavens, and breaking through the barrier of a world. This is the path of immortal ascension. Jiang Chen's eyes focused, staring at that streak of light. He could see immortal energy scattering down from another world. And that world was the celestial realm. Did the demon emperor really succeed? Did you reconnect the immortal path? Jiang Chen said in a low voice. Then he flew toward the light beam. When he arrived, he saw unmatched being and the others' excited expressions. There were even some who were bathed in immortal energy, their cultivation levels quickly rising. Even the aura of an unmatched being changed slightly under the immortal energy, becoming even more powerful, even more ferocious. Is this the true path to immortality? Jiang Chen asked. Of course. The demon emperor's face was filled with pride. After all, he was the only person in this world who could continue the path to immortality. However, before he could finish speaking, a terrifying power erupted from the other side of the world. Like an invisible palm, the light beam began to fluctuate, as if it was about to be obliterated. If the king doesn't allow you to become immortals, you can't become immortals. A mere loser wants to change fate and continue the path to immortality for the people of this world. In the celestial realm, a majestic voice sounded. At the same time, a finger pierced through the barrier between the two realms, heading straight for the ancestral realm. On that finger, runes swirled, immortal energy rose, as if it could destroy a world with a single finger. Immortal King! This is an immortal king! The human emperor and the others exclaimed, their hearts filled with shock. They really didn't expect that the continuation of the path to immortality would alarm an immortal king. That was an overlord of the celestial realm. In the entire celestial realm, there were no more than 5 immortal kings. That kind of person could truly overlook the past, present, and future, watching the ups and downs of the world being destroyed. Only they could exist eternally. Such a person was actually alarmed now. At this moment, seeing that finger descending, everyone's heart turned cold. Although the power of an immortal king couldn't pass through the barrier, one finger was enough to destroy a world. If this finger landed on the ancestral realm, without a doubt, the ancestral realm would definitely be destroyed. The heavens have mercy, the earth has fate, why must the mortal make things difficult for the lower realm? Suddenly, a voice sounded in the void. This voice came from nowhere, but everyone could feel that this voice carried an inexplicable Tao cloud. It was as if this voice represented a great Tao. Everyone in the world, just hearing this voice, felt like they were about to be enlightened. Oh? So you were hiding in the lower realm? The immortal king retracted his finger with surprise, but an even more terrifying immortal energy pressure erupted. Under this pressure, the creatures of the 3 realms felt as if the world was about to collapse. When Wan Chun was alive, I didn't see you immortal kings so arrogant. At this moment, in the 6 shattered realms, an old man slowly walked out of an ancient tomb. If Jiang Chen saw this person, he would definitely remember that it was this person who had brought him to the tomb of the Great Transformation's Divine King. It was also because of this old man that Jiang Chen had obtained a strand of the Great Transformation's Divine King's essence blood. Back then, Jiang Chen had felt that this old man wasn't simple and was very likely a divine king. But now it seemed that this old man's identity was even more extraordinary. The human emperor and demon emperor were very calm, as if they'd already known this old man's identity. He's your father's master. The demon emperor sighed. He's also the protector of our 6 great sects, an existence that can contend with an immortal king. Then shouldn't I call him Grand Master? Jiangchun was stunned. He hadn't expected this old man's identity to be so high. At this moment, this old man had ascended to the heavens in a single step and stood at the end of the immortal path, as if facing the immortal king of the immortal realm. After a few breaths of time, the old man waved his hand and said, "Go back. This is the will of heaven. The 6 great sects will return, and so will the myriad vehicle sect. As for the rest of you, we'll settle old and new debts together. You think I don't dare to descend to the lower realm to fight with you?" The immortal king said coldly. Vast immortal chi hung upside down like a waterfall. However, in front of this old man, what was the use of this immortal chi? He didn't even make a move. He only gently blinked his eyes, and that waterfall-like immortal chi disappeared without a trace. Then, he sat cross-legged at the end of the immortal path with his back facing the common people. "The people of the world want to become immortals, so I'll protect them. If the immortals in the heavens dare to stop me, don't blame this old man for not showing mercy. Zhou Kunlun, you're too arrogant. Do you really think there's no one in the immortal realm? With an immortal king overseeing things, you, Zhou Kunlun, are nothing. Even if you have the Kunlun Immortal Mountain behind you, you have to know that the Kunlun Immortal Mountain is not the king of the immortal realm." In the immortal realm, a few angry roars sounded. At the same time, 3 huge phantoms appeared, surrounded by immortal chi and dazzling divine light. Tens of thousands of laws wrapped around their bodies. Chapter 1445. The 3 phantoms represented the 3 great immortal kings, all of them domineering figures in the immortal world. Such figures might not make a move for hundreds or thousands of years, nor would they appear in front of the world, or even disappear forever. They had witnessed everything, and everything was like floating clouds in their eyes, making it difficult for their hearts to stir up any waves. But now, no one would have thought that just Zhou Kunlun would make the 3 great immortal kings appear at the same time. Moreover, listening to the words of these 3 great immortal kings, they seemed to be very afraid of Zhou Kunlun. This made the people of the world puzzled, and even the creatures of the immortal world were depressed and hungry. Who was Zhou Kunlun? He could actually alarm 3 great immortal kings at the same time. "He is the master of the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord. He is the gatekeeper of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. It's him. The number 1 person in the first year of the 10,000 vehicle, the legendary supreme existence who can suppress immortal kings." After a long time, the immortal world was in an uproar. Someone dug out the past and revealed Zhou Kunlun's identity. Back then, the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord ruled over a region. Although he was only an immortal lord, below the immortal king, 1/10 of the immortal world at that time belonged to the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord. One had to know that the immortal world was vast, and to be able to dominate 1/10 of the territory was already rare. And the reason why the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord could do this was not only because the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord's combat strength was comparable to an immortal king, but also because of his master, Zhou Kunlun. According to legend, Zhou Kunlun was an immortal king a long time ago. With his own strength, he had once guarded the Kunlun Immortal Mountain to the death. It could be said that the Kunlun Immortal Mountain was established because of Zhou Kunlun. And in the first year of the 10,000 vehicle, it was also because of Zhou Kunlun that the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord could have such achievements. However, no matter how strong the immortal lord was, he was still an immortal lord. No matter how strong Zhou Kunlun was, he could not block the joint forces of several immortal kings. In the end, the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord was suppressed in the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, and Zhou Kunlun left the immortal world and hid in the lower realm with the seeds of the 6 forces. As time passed, who would have thought that the 6 seeds were still alive? Even Zhou Kunlun was still alive. "You are very strong, Zhou Kunlun. We respect you as a king. If you are willing to come to our sect, we will definitely respect." At this moment, several voices rang out from the immortal world. They were openly trying to rope Zhou Kunlun in. Moreover, he was trying to rope them in right in front of the three great celestial kings. Without a doubt, those people who spoke had sufficient resources and strength. They didn't fear the three great celestial kings. There are millions of immortals in the heavens, but not everyone can become an immortal king. Don't make a mistake. One of the immortal kings was enraged. His voice shook the entire immortal world. In an instant, many people shut up. However, there were still people who were willing to take Zhou Kunlun back to the celestial world. Immortal realm? If I return to the immortal world, all of you will have to submit to me. Zhou Kunlun's reply was very domineering. He didn't agree to anyone's request. He just sat there at the end of the path. He had said that he would protect the people of the world to become immortals. Since he had said it, he would do it. If the immortals in the heavens dared to stop him, he dared to kill them. Immortal ascension? Immortal gate? As long as Zhou Kunlun wanted to, he could enter the immortal world right now. Zhou Kunlun, you have to understand the situation in the lower realm. The power of darkness has already appeared, and the Dark Moon clan is about to be born. The reason why the immortal realm is stopping the beings of the lower realm from ascending is also for the sake of the immortal realm. We're only doing this for the immortal realm. Someone explained, hoping that Zhou Kunlun wouldn't do that. However, Zhou Kunlun didn't say anything. He just sat there at the end of the path. His expression was calm and confident. With his back facing the beings of the lower realm, he was like a bright lamp guiding the people of the world to return. After a few breaths, Zhou Kunlun suddenly spoke. He looked at the human emperor and the demon emperor and said, "Haven't you always wanted to return to the immortal world? Now I'll send you back. Is this true? We'll return to the immortal world just like this." At this moment, the human emperor and the demon emperor hesitated. They were also a little afraid. They knew very well that there were people in the immortal world who didn't want them to return, and there were also people who wanted to kill them. If they returned to the immortal world without anyone's protection, they were destined to die tragically. With me, Zhou Kunlun, around, you can ascend without worry. If they dare to touch a single hair on you, I'll ascend to immortality immediately. Zhou Kunlun said seriously. As soon as he said that, the human emperor and the demon emperor looked at each other and remained silent for a long time. In the end, both of them nodded and didn't say anything else. Then, under everyone's gaze, the two emperors stepped onto the path and finally walked to Zhou Kunlun's side. "Thank you, Senior. Senior, if something really happens to us, please accept this." The two emperors left behind their legacies and passed them to Zhou Kunlun. Then, as if they were going to die, they walked to the end of the path and passed through the gate. At this moment, the two of them finally got their wish and returned to the immortal world. "What two emperors? You're nothing but ants in the immortal world. Do you really think Zhou Kunlun can protect you?" The moment the two emperors ascended, several cold and murderous voices sounded. At the same time, several explosions sounded in the immortal world. Clearly, someone had attacked the two emperors. "I said let them ascend. I said I'll kill anyone who dares to touch them. I said I can ascend to immortality immediately." At this moment, Zhou Kunlun suddenly stood up and waved his hands fiercely in front of him. It was as if he was tearing the void and tearing open the gate. The world was stunned when they saw the scenery of the immortal world and the emperors of human and demon surrounded by a group of people. But at this moment, Zhou Kunlun's palm broke through the gate. With a push of his palm, the people surrounding the two emperors collapsed and turned into shadows. "Since ancient times, who has dared to disobey me? If it weren't for fate, I would have already flattened the immortal world." Zhou Kunlun was so domineering. He was in the lower realm, but it was enough to intimidate the people of the immortal world. Even the immortal kings didn't dare to make a move at this moment. "Zhou Kunlun, if we really want to kill them, you can't protect them," one of the immortal kings said. The threat was very obvious. Zhou Kunlun nodded. He knew that if the immortal kings really made up their minds to kill the two emperors, then he really wouldn't be able to protect them. However, Zhou Kunlun was sure that they wouldn't dare. "You're afraid of me?" Zhou Kunlun said contemptuously, but there was a trace of helplessness in his eyes. Let them go, I cannot ascend. You can be your own immortal kings, and I can live forever in the lower realm. Humph! How can there be such a good thing? Within 1,000 years, you can't ascend and can't interfere in the affairs of the immortal world. In this way, we can let them go. But after 1,000 years, whether they live or die, you can't interfere. That's right. We'll give the people from the lower realm 1,000 years. The 3 great immortal worlds actually gave in, but the conditions were also very harsh. They didn't let Zhou Kunlun return to the immortal world. 1,000 years? That's enough. Zhou Kunlun agreed with a smile and said, Although the lower realm is the lower realm, the creatures of the lower realm are not weaker than the immortal world. In 1,000 years, I believe they can protect themselves. They can even surpass you. Chapter 1446. The 1,000-year agreement was set just like that. No one made an oath because everyone knew that the words of an immortal king were words. They wouldn't lie. What was 1,000 years in the eyes of an immortal king? It was just a blink of an eye. And in 1,000 years, they definitely wouldn't believe that an immortal king could be born from the lower realm. Moreover, even if the immortal kings didn't make a move, others could. These ascenders might not even be able to live for 1,000 years. Since you guys have set a 1,000-year agreement, then I will set a 2-realm agreement with you guys. Zhou Kunlun said, naturally thinking for the people of the world. He knew very well that even if the immortal kings didn't make a move, there were plenty of immortals in the immortal world. An immortal lord was enough to kill someone who had just ascended. And this 2-realm agreement meant that anyone who was 2 realms higher than the ascenders couldn't make a move. This could be considered a disguised form of protection for the ascenders. Okay. In the end, the immortal sects retired, the immortal kings retreated, and the immortals of the immortal world also returned. Zhou Kunlun didn't move. He still had his back to everyone as he sat at the end of the path to immortality. He wanted to protect the people of the world. I think that someone like you won't interfere in the matters of the lower realm, right? At this moment, Yuanzhua and the Dark Man came. The 2 of them stood in the distance in fear, staring at Zhou Kunlun. Hearing this, Zhou Kunlun laughed and said, I only care about the matters of the heavens. I don't care about the matters of the lower realm. Even if the lower realm is destroyed, I won't care. I hope Senior can do as you say, Yuanzhua said solemnly. As soon as he finished speaking, Yuanzhua's gaze suddenly turned cold. He looked at Jiangchen and said coldly, You hid the spider lilies in the ancestral realm. Do you really think I don't know? So what? Jiangchen wasn't afraid at all. After all, as time passed, his cultivation level became higher and higher. Now, he was confident that he could fight Yuanzhua. You think you can? Yuanzhua said disdainfully. He pointed at himself and said, You can't beat me. Try. Jiangchen raised his eyebrows, not believing Yuanzhua at all. As for the invincible warrior at the side, he had a look of disdain on his face as he said casually, If we really fight, I won't be afraid. Hand over the Resurrection Lily clan, and I can guarantee that I won't destroy the 3 major worlds. Otherwise, the 3 big worlds will be annihilated. Yuan Ju said with a ferocious expression. The ancient world was destroyed. Yuanzhua's heart was a bit twisted. He couldn't bear to see the other worlds doing well. He wanted to destroy the myriad worlds and bury them with the ancient world. Of course, in the depths of his heart, that wisp of darkness was becoming denser and denser, constantly telling him what he should do, how he should destroy the world. That was the power of the Dark Moon clan, born only for destruction. Fight! At this moment, Jiangchen was very direct. His aura erupted, and the destiny in the sky descended. His 3 Tao souls appeared, and chaos energy erupted from his body like a waterfall. As his eyes opened and closed, there seemed to be flowing light flowing within them. It was also as if the universe was reversing. Golden lotuses covered the ground beneath his feet. Behind him was an expanse of primal chaos. It was like an ocean that could contain all living things. Interesting. Yuan Ju's eyes narrowed. He really didn't expect Jiang Chen's strength to have reached such a stage. However, to Yuan Ju, this was just a small surprise. In his eyes, the living beings of the lower realm were nothing. Kill! At this moment Yuan Ju roared. The dark energy in his body erupted and gushed out like a tidal wave. In an instant Yuan Ju rushed to the front of Jiang Chen. Before Jiang Chen could react, Yuan Ju had grabbed onto his head. Boom! Then, there was a loud explosion. Jiang Chen's head exploded, and his body turned into dust. Luckily, the 3 wisps of chaos energy protected his body. Jiang Chen's soul was pulled out, and he rebuilt his body not far away. What's going on? Stronger than the last time? Jiang Chen was shocked. He was really surprised. The bright sun is in the sky, the dark moon is behind. If the bright sun is not destroyed, how can the dark moon disappear? Yuan Ju chuckled. The dark moon tribe is coming back. I can feel that the dark energy is constantly increasing. I see. Jiang Chen was relieved. Yuan Ju's sudden increase in strength was related to the dark moon tribes coming back. After all, the dark energy originated from the dark moon tribe. With the dark moon tribe's return, the dark energy would naturally become stronger. Senior, he should be one of the 6 seeds that you mentioned, right? If I kill him, you won't mind, right? Yuan Ju looked at Zhou Kunlun. Among the people present, the only one that he was afraid of was Zhou Kunlun. Everyone thought that Zhou Kunlun would protect Jiang Chen. However, Zhou Kunlun closed his eyes and shook his head. His meaning was obvious. He wouldn't interfere with the affairs of the lower realm. Even if his own seed was killed, he wouldn't care. Can you really kill me? Jiang Chen was angry. This was the first time he was looked down upon. Kill? Was it that easy to kill? You must die! At this moment Yuan Ju rushed out again. Jiang Chen was already prepared. His divine ability exploded and the energy in his body burned to the extreme. He and Yuan Ju fought fiercely. The fight shook the heavens and the earth, and the void cracked inch by inch. All kinds of laws were colliding, especially Jiang Chen's time law. Once it was used, the people around him seemed to be in a daze and were fixed in place. However, Yuan Ju was too strong. His left hand gathered the dark energy, and his right hand gathered the immortal energy. The 2 forces blended together like the collision of the sun and the moon, and forcefully broke through the time law. In the next moment, he pushed out his palm and sent Jiang Chen's 3 Tao souls into his body. Then, he punched out and sent the 3 strands of chaotic energy back into Jiang Chen's body. Then, Yuan Ju punched again and shattered the dragon and tiger shadows behind Jiang Chen. In the end, Yuan Zu threw his palm over with a smile. Jiang Chen was suppressed in the void. I told you, you can't beat me, Yuan Ju said contemptuously. He looked at the unrivaled warrior in the distance and said, Use the people of the Red Spider Lily clan to exchange for his life. You! The unrivaled warrior's face was gloomy. He knew very well that once Yuan Ju devoured the Red Spider Lily clan, no one in the world would be Yuan Ju's opponent. However, if he didn't hand over the Red Spider Lily clan, Jiang Chen would definitely die. Hiss, what is this? So cold! Suddenly, there was a burst of cold air. Even Yuan Ju and the others felt a chill on their backs. The space seemed to be frozen, and even the energy in their bodies became sluggish. He's my master and my man. If you want to kill him, you have to ask for my permission. In this world, no one can kill my boss. The only one who can kill him is probably himself. At this moment, in the direction of the ancestral court ruins, immortal light rushed into the sky. A group of people stepped on immortal energy and came over. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.